the
This is
off-
certainly not the
offsite
first
store
Mercury Theater
facility.
television broadcast that's happened from here. So
No.
This is the first one we didn't do at the theater, though, right?
Cowboy
we
crew.
did a cowboy crew here.
Oh yeah, man.
Well,
What?
still half of us. Yeah.
Yeah, have we only
Seems like
done
there's some
one?
overlap between.
I guess we've never done one at like someone's house or anything. That's interesting. I like it.
Look at that. There you go. Are we live?
Uh-huh.
Is
Doing
it
it?
happening?
Yeah. Are you looking it up on your phone? I assume it's live.
All right.
You guys, Severian made me so mad in this thing.
This is
He's such a
he's
I say all these notes are about how much I hate
Yeah.
him.
Yes.
he's really showing himself to be a serious
Piece of
anti-hero
shit.
I
and
have,
piece of shit.
I
Yeah,
have a
throughout
fuck
this
Severian
whole
note.
thing here.
When he's
This
talking
one
about,
says,
like,
"What a dick,"
Yeah.
That's exactly where mine is.
and this one says, "Dude, fuck you, Sev."
Yeah.
My fuck Severian is where yours Severian what a dick is.
Yeah.
Fuck
Yeah,
him.
I've got a
Fuck
lot
him.
of like WTFs next to underlines around here, and like what,
WTF.
like Severian's just gonna torture this woman now, you know, like that kind of thing. Like,
So the part that y'all wrote, like Severian's a dick, next to is in what, Hand of the Past,
Yeah.
when he's like, I had a premonition that it would be something quite meaningless to me, to which Dorcas would attach great meaning.
Yeah.
sure
As
that.
madmen who believe the tracks of worms beneath the bark of fallen trees to be a supernatural script.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ugh,
I
it's
said,
so condescending.
What an
I
ass.
said, "What a dick." The one intelligent person you know, and you think she's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. She knows things you don't know,
Yeah.
and she's out of her fucking mind.
Yeah.
She's your grandma. Respect, man.
Yeah.
Respect the grandma.
Respect your grandma.
So that, like, I know we're jumping ahead, but I just want to say that, like, it's little things like that I'm noticing now that really make me think that, like, this is very intentional, and I don't think he's accidentally Gene Wolfe. I mean, like, I know
Yeah.
there's like this long, never-ending debate about if he's a misogynist or whatever.
If Wolf is a misogynist.
Yeah.
Right.
But, like, I feel like there's so much, like, self-awareness behind... Like, he's saying, like, men look at women who are smarter than them and call them insane.
Right.
Like,
Right.
It's been happening forever, and that's, like, so blatant.
Well, and he's just fumbles around the whole time, and like people direct him to places, you know.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Dorcas is like really smart.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that I feel like Severian is writing this, right? But he's also writing it in such a way that doesn't necessarily portray himself as a hero. Like, you would think, like, okay, if you're, like, full of shit and self-absorbed, you would be a hero. But, like, he points out the ways that he's not heroic throughout these 4 chapters. Like, for example, like, when he leaves, like, the widow in the cabin, he's just like, you know, like, you didn't give me the lamp, so screw you.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you
maybe
think that-
maybe
he,
old
like,
man
admits to that?
Severian who's writing it is less of a dick than teenage.
Well,
Severian.
so it's the question is, like, is he sewing this in here intentionally because he wants to portray his younger self as, like, a shitty douche lord, or is he just an old douche lord
Yeah.
who still feels all these things?
Well, I kind of get the feeling that when he admits that he's not a hero, he doesn't quite get why he's not a hero.
Right, he feels
So
like
I
he's
don't
supposed
feel
to be
like-
the hero of all this stuff.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
Severian's like, you know, really, I'm a normal guy, but I am, of course, Jesus Christ. You know? I feel like that's what he's trying to say, but really, he's like, you know,
If I
I'm a
were-
normal guy, but I rape, and I don't think anybody else can think.
Right.
If I were an old dude who ascended to the height of a position equivalent or roughly equivalent to the autarch, and I was writing about myself, I would steer harder into how horrible I was because it makes a more useful story to other people. You know, like an autarch who was always great, you know, like Beyonce or whatever, is useless.
The single Beyonce.
I don't know. Beyonce was in the third Austin Powers movie.
Right, right.
Which I've rewatched
Good
recently,
point.
and which isn't.
And it's been downhill from there.
I believe that.
But like the you know, like the autarch who was always perfect and always did right is useless to every other human being alive. But the autarch that sucked shit for a long ass time is useful to most people.
See, and originally when I was asking the question, I was like, well, it should be one way or the other, right? Like logically, he should portray himself as a hero, or sure, as a complete evil, capable of evil kind of villainous person. But But he's really pretty complicated. Like, he's really unpredictable.
But how self-aware do you think he is?
At the time of writing?
Yeah, at the time of writing.
It seems like he's...
It's hard to
if
say.
he's self-aware, he's creating himself as, like, a complex character
Well, so I'm
and telling
thinking
it like
about,
it is.
like, having recently read Earth, and I feel like he's still probably kind of a shithead, but I think he's better than he was in the, I think he does change a lot, but I think he's just always kind of a shithead.
I also don't think he often, it's like, he's like telling you the narrative, but it's not like he often kind of like fully does, or I can't think of a time when he like fully acknowledges that like, in a literal sense, that Dorcas was like right about something and he was wrong about something. He doesn't ever really explicitly.
There's so much stuff that's only revealed through reading between the lines. You
Right.
know, like that's like I mean,
But
like,
you'd think if you're like, if you were that self-aware where you're like, I'm gonna portray all of my mistakes, you'd be like, and here I made a mistake. Maybe.
Right. Yeah, learn.
Right,
Like,
right,
Agreed.
exactly.
Oh, I
think
thought
that-
she was insane, but it turned out
But he-
I was wrong
he
and a
doesn't
dick
at
and
all.
stupid.
She's like, I was spitting up stones, and he's like, I forget what he
Yeah,
says, but
he's
he's
an
like,
idiot.
yeah, like that's
And it-
normal.
and
He does do that for other things, like say at the beginning of the story when he tells you that he becomes autark over
Yeah.
and over.
Right.
You know, he's like, and all that happened, and it's how I became autark.
It seems unlikely
Yeah.
that becoming the autark would ever give anyone any amount of self-awareness
Right.
or like moral understanding of themselves.
Yeah, it doesn't really-
It would only remove you further from that.
If only because they become so much more than oneself.
Well, right.
Right.
He does kind of portray himself as dense, though. Like Dorcas is like you had the claw on you when you found me, and I don't remember anything before that. And I was in this lake full of dead bodies that were weighed down.
And I've
he's
been barfing
in
up lead shot.
At the moment, he's like, no, it seems unlikely because it was in my pocket and not in my hand.
Which is like the person reading this book who's like, aha! You know,
Right.
like pocket hand there. Like,
Couldn't
I
have
got
been the
it, I got
case.
it.
Right. You're just searching for technicality.
Well,
Yeah.
it's one of the moments that make me feel like Severian's autistic. You know, where
Could be.
he's like, here's this fine detail that just makes us always all, and she's like, oh well, I've come back to life, so I feel like maybe that detail.
And then she
would
straight up
understand.
explains what the claw is to him.
Yeah.
Without anybody like.
She's like, it bends time back.
She's like, I worked this out. Here's what happens. He's like, I don't know.
But yeah, I think that he's trying to do what you're talking about, but that really he's revealing so much more.
You can never actually get on that far ahead of yourself.
Yeah, he just doesn't know why he sucks.
No.
I don't think that he can.
Well, let's go through this bit by bit because
A lot happens.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
some-
this was a great section.
It really was.
Gripping.
Once again.
I really appreciate how like a bunch of this section was just like connecting events, but that those connecting parts were so full of thematic shit that they were my favorite parts of this section. Like walking in the mountains and getting his like philosophy as expressed through geography was really cool.
Oh yeah, and we'll get to like him talking about the sky too, which is like,
Oh yeah,
super cool.
There was a pile-on of weird like
Yeah.
physical metaphors.
We should wait and give that its own
Yes.
conversation.
I feel like that's a scene that always sticks out to me in like all of the books. Actually, it's like one I
that
don't
particular.
know. Yeah, there's something about that
It's odd.
scene.
Him looking at the
Stars
sky.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know.
In this section, so he talks to Dorcas. Another example of him kind of being a dick is like Dorcas is like, "I'm going back, Severian. I know you can't go with me," and he's like, "Right." And because he's like already got it worked out till like break up with her, right? Like he's like going back just to basically be like, "I'm out of here," and he's like, "Okay," and she's like, "I'm not asking you to go, like I'm gonna go," and he's like, "I understand." He's like playing with her. He's not coming out and saying like, oh yeah, no, I was gonna go too, or like, oh, I'll go with you anyway and truly be a hero, which he's clearly not.
It is like another, and when he finds Agia, I feel like when he found Syriaka, I feel like it's another point of him like on this thing, and then, oh, Agia's here. Yeah, I knew you were here.
Right. Well,
I knew you were
we
there.
gotta.
Like he fucking didn't. The instant that someone like points it out to him, he's like, oh yeah.
I have so much to say about that bit.
First the Charmander.
But yeah, let's
the
the Charmander.
The Charmander.
So he gives her the money. She's like, do you still have that money from Dr. Talos? He gives it to her. They talk about Hathor. She says like Hathor was here. This is just after the Salamander where we are.
Yeah, you're
Or
2
is the
chapters
Salamander-
ahead of the salamander right now.
Oh, I am. Oh, my bad.
No, that's
I don't know
alright.
why I thought we started there. All right.
The Salamander is kind of like the monster from Stranger Things.
Uh-huh.
It's got the same face.
Oh.
Yeah, or sort of blooms.
Yeah.
Like the Predator.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think that the Stranger Things monster has a lot of antecedents.
Yeah. Stranger Things
show
is like a
is-
mosaic.
That's like the whole thing,
Precedence?
isn't it?
It's the- I can't
Little
remember.
Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, totally. Little Shop of Horrors. That's in there. All of Lovecraft. And I
So-
definitely. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Well, I was gonna say I definitely feel like there is some like now they were learning about like these things are like creatures that Hathor has like brought
So what I
with
want to
him.
ask is, what are the mechanics of Hathor and the monsters?
They're Pokemon. They go.
Does
like,
he
little-
have
It does kind of seem like that.
like because these are insane? He's got a salamander. He's got notchools. He's got some weird slime electric thing.
Got
The-
mirrors.
But yeah, he has mirrors.
Does he just have them with him
Yeah.
and he just teleports
Portable
them out?
mirrors.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
Did they
Because
just
they're
I
like
didn't- I
thin
didn't
and
know it's
fold
like a
up,
Pokemon.
right? And they're like
Yeah.
I assumed that they were
It's like a
probably
foil.
like fragments of sails.
right.
You know.
Totally.
so he carries these around with him?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can roll them like a yoga
It's
mat.
like a foil.
And then unfoil the, and then like he like lets out monsters and he's like, go kill Severian. Like
Maybe he
to
like
like the
sticks his head
sal
in, he's like,
like the salamander's like looking for Severian, so says Severian, like
Or the claw, or severe.
maybe it's looking for oh yeah, could be.
I mean, Hathor's definitely. I mean, he's working for Agia. He's definitely trying to kill Severian.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't know that the claws. I mean, is
The claw
Agia like
making
after
you-
the claw?
I don't think so, but I wonder if it makes them easier to find.
it seems like no one cares about the claw except Severian. Not even really the Pelorines.
Although I
Like,
mean,
or-
I guess arguably Agia was the one who
Yeah.
stole it in the first place and
True.
like,
Yeah, she
planted it
stole
on
when she thought it was a
Severian.
sapphire.
Oh, because she didn't even know
Maybe.
really what
She
she was
just thought it
getting
was
I
a
into.
mean, in the middle of a car accident, I think she probably just grabbed something and stuff.
That's what I thought.
I just assumed that she was orchestrating way more of that.
No, because that's her thing is that she doesn't think.
Right, she
that
just rolls.
far.
Yeah, she's rolling with the
Yeah.
punches always.
But she's
Yeah.
really rolling with the punches. Like she's journeying
Yeah.
out past
She's cool.
Thrax.
She's good. Like she's. I guess she's an asshole, but like she's cool. You know.
cool character, yeah,
Yes.
but like seems like she's really got something, chip on her shoulder about Severian. Like
Mhm.
Yeah, to
He
say
killed
the
the
least.
brother.
And then some.
I guess that's the vengeance aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Killed my brother.
Prepare to die.
Pretty much. All right. Well, so the salamander. I thought the description of it when it shows up is really cool.
Definitely, it's peak wolf.
What?
I agree.
It's just cool. So I don't know. Where he's like, the firework glare of their lances outlined something dark and crooked and stooped that stood between us. It turned toward the light, whatever it was, and seemed to open as a flower might, growing tall more swiftly almost than the eye could follow it, thinning until it had become a creature of glowing gauze, hot yet somehow reptilian, as those many-colored serpents we see brought from the jungles of the north are reptilian still, though they seem the works of colored enamel.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I don't even really understand what that's supposed to look like, but it sounds so cool.
Yeah.
And it's got this sort of otherworldly heat around it, and it seems
Yeah.
like it's like there's almost something incomprehensible about it, which I love when Wolfe kind of like gets to that. He stretches his imagination to the point where he's like, I can't really describe what it is, but it seems like time and heat.
And that's
kind of like
and that feels like definitely like a Lovecraftian sort of. I mean, like this creature in general feels like a very Lovecraftian kind of thing, but then also that like balking at a full description of it or like giving us a real understanding of what it is seems to really come from that as well.
Oh, something I wanted to say about all these beasts is, and about how Severian gives them orders. I don't think that we necessarily have any idea how intelligent these things are.
yeah.
You know, given that rats have writing and build houses, I don't
True.
think we have any idea how smart these things
He really doesn't interact with animals at all, except for that bull.
are. And he
And
killed that.
He killed it.
Trisky.
Well,
Yeah,
Tristan,
he doesn't
yeah.
give a shit
Well,
about
do
it.
you
And
think
he brought that back to life.
He did.
Do you think it's smarter? Do you think it's like comprehends like Ethor's instructions and is like
I don't know. All I'm saying is that we don't know.
yeah.
Right. And I mean, a dog can do that. So it's got to be smarter than a dog.
Yeah.
I guess it's, so if Ethor can train it, if he's like a like a zoo master or something,
Yeah,
he gave a little scrap of it.
Even
His mind
even the
is
nostrils seem
broken.
like
I could see him knowing how to talk to just a fragment of darkness. You know.
Yeah. Or like that's like what he's trained. Like he understands how to work with these things, but it's not described. But I guess that's what we're led to believe is that he somehow is trained these.
And his
He's not
name
the
is
other
like
choice.
Steven.
Yeah.
Like Nathan.
Yeah, Ethor's not his real name.
Yeah, his name is
Oh, yeah.
way older, and it's something that no one would
Doug.
recognize anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking of it too.
So is he okay? Is he transporting them from the like animal holding center of the ship, or is he transporting them from like
Their
their
natural
worlds?
Well, I think he's transporting him from like Riyadh.
Like the ether.
Right. And you mind if I?
Oh yes, please.
There's a diagram in here of how. This
Oh
whole thing
yeah, with the
works.
holes.
Between the Bria's like the bridge, or is it like the?
Bria's the next. Or no, Yasad is the next one. Yeah, we're living in Bria. This makes no
Oh,
sense to me.
okay.
This is something I don't understand. Why we live in Bria?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
It makes sense that Yasad would be the next one up. If you're talking about Sephiroth and not like
Right.
worlds.
Yeah, and it's weird switching from Sephiroth to worlds.
That confuses me as well.
Every Sephiroth is supposed to be in every world and in every Sephiroth. I don't know. But anyway, so this diagram would indicate to me that from Bria here, mirrors can only summon things from Abaddon, the next universe down.
Oh, and then they're all kind of hellish animals too.
Right. Yeah.
That we
Because
see.
that's like kind of the underworld-ish thing.
Yeah, it would be scam.
But I don't think you have any control over what you're grabbing.
Really.
I don't think that. I don't have good evidence.
You kind of
He
just like
just
opening it
opens
up
the
and seeing
portal.
what it's like a cast net or something. You can
Right.
see what you can.
Interesting.
Yeah, like
What you can
dredge
hook.
and
Yeah.
Well, then why are they all? How is it possible that they're all controllable by him?
He's familiar with the species, perhaps.
yeah.
Kind of gets what he gets, but he's got experience with a lot of different animals.
I mean, if
He's
he's
been around the
used,
block,
if he
so.
works on a ship and he's used to collecting up all the acorns all the time, then you get used to talking to him.
Yeah,
And
he's
not
scrubbing
having to
nodules
talk.
off the ship's stern, on the regular.
Squeegeeing.
Yeah.
Minox chewing on the power line. Anybody a Star Wars fan? No one's a Star Wars fan.
Good job.
here. What a weird group of nerds.
Making a lot of assumptions.
I prefer Shrek.
Yeah, same.
I think you said I preferred Shrek.
I prefer Finding Nemo.
Shrek 2 is pretty good.
Star Wars is alright, but what I'm really into is Shrek.
You read anything from the Shrek expanded universe?
I only get into the Shrek expanded
Oh, I see,
universe.
I see.
That's where the real need is.
Well.
It's cool how he defeats the salamander too.
Thank you, Ryan.
How
I
it defeats itself.
It's such a
Yeah.
He runs.
it's such a like Deus Ex Machina, like it's just like, and then the floor fell out underneath and everything was fine.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. He was in a horrible little shack, and then he's
How
got
did
blind
he
things.
how do you even get out of that? Well, he's like on a part of a shack that's overhanging a cliff, and the floor burns through, but he's on like the air side of it.
And then, so this is interesting then he's like, well, I didn't think we'd make it out of there, but we did, and now we were at the inn. Like, he doesn't explain how that happened.
Yeah, he's like, yeah,
all.
oh,
You just stepped
that
around
was
the
tough.
salamander-shaped hole that was
Like,
down on the floor.
Like, that's all I can. I mean, he's like, yeah, he probably just kind of like, jumped over it.
I think
Or
for a second
else-
he says
or
he
else-
thought he was falling too, but then he didn't.
Or else, like, it was like not, a good story. Like,
Yeah.
the people in the house had to help him down. It was real tedious. It took a long time.
You just make him look bad.
Like,
Yeah,
built
that
a
was really
ramshackle
boring.
ladder.
It did stick out to me. So I was thinking, like, like, in comparison, it's definitely a boring story, and it has nothing, and he, like, does say, I'm not going to tell you about the boring parts that have nothing to do with what's
Right, that's
happening.
what he tells Syriaca, where he's like only giving her like the bare minimum of story, and he's leaving out as much as possible. And then that happens too after he leaves the mansion
When
house
he-
or whatever. He's
oh.
just like, and then I rolled out, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And then he tells Dorcas later, right? Is it Dorcas that he tells about? Like letting Syriaca go and
Oh,
like,
well,
doing
he
all that.
also, it's funny,
Oh, yeah.
because he also says, she's like, you're being really nervous around the candle. What happened? What's going on? Oh, I was standing too close to a fire. I burned myself. you smell like burning. Like, did something happen to you? I was just too
It just
close to a
singed my
fire."
clothes.
Like,
yeah.
what? not gonna tell her.
That reminds me of when I was like a teenager, and I didn't want to like, I didn't really want to like deal with giving my parents all of the details
Yeah.
about like how I was spending my time. It wasn't like I was doing anything bad necessarily, but they were like, "Oh, what did you do tonight?" And we're like, "Oh, I like just went to Kyle's house," but then I like would also like drove around and smoked weed for 3 hours, or like something that I was just gonna leave out of that story, and so I give them the sanitized like easy version, just so I wouldn't have to like go into the rest of it.
Totally, but he's definitely like shaken up by it.
Yeah, he is.
They
Right.
keep talking. You look scared.
And he's still just trying to pass it off as like.
And like, I don't know, does she like something and he kind of like
Yeah, no, he does. He like winces a little bit, and later on, she like says the word fire or something. She says like, I forget what it was, but she like kind of like makes a turn of phrase that references flame, and he's like, oh, don't.
Well, I never really paid attention to this before.
Yeah, somewhere in here.
But
I
it makes
didn't
it so
make
that
a
he
note of
reacts
it.
to fire like she reacts to water.
In that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's still
Oh,
like,
really?
a little bit freaked out.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but it's specifically what she says.
That's so funny.
Which is, I don't know, it's like a lot of their relationship. Like,
Yeah.
Severian is this uncontrollable force that
It is.
just spreads wherever there's food. Whereas, like, Dorcas has a depth and, like, a strength of her own, her ability to move things despite her lack of physical power.
Like water. Water's
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just then Severian's sort of like a controlled burn. All
I mean,
the
he's
people
just-
around him basically trying to like
Like, if there's something flammable,
hack trenches in the
Severian's
ground to
here.
like
It's
catch
catching
it
fire.
back one direction.
Technically, Severian is a sun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of fire he is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very true.
Fusion.
Wait, so we on lead? We're on chapter 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we talked about the.
It's a very short chapter.
Yeah, he was cool.
Sally.
We love the salamander.
I underlined this part at the bottom of 55 where he said, I had the feeling that there was another Severian there, the kind and even noble Severian who existed only in Dorcas's mind. So I wrote LOL next
I'm
to
so
it.
bad and tortured.
I mean,
Not the way she sees me.
right. Like, you really think that?
Right. Like, she actually goes on to say, like, you're a torturer. And that's why I kind of want to be here.
Oh, he drinks water. He drinks wine and it turns to water in this chapter.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
On lead, first page, like the third
Yeah,
paragraph down.
Oh, yeah, by the way, like, wait, let's stick to this. Wait.
Oh, whatever the
He's
wine
got-
was, it seemed strong in my mouth, and yet no more than water after I had swallowed it.
Whoa, I totally missed that.
This, however, does not pose as much a problem for me as the ewer in Saltus, because this could be a time function. You know, like you drink wine, and then the claw bends you back to when you hadn't drunk the wine yet.
Oh, you mean
But
like?
it's still turned to water.
Well, no, its effects were like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It
'Cause he
seemed
can't
strong
taste
in my
it.
mouth.
He can't taste it in his throat, right? Or could he like feel?
It said
the
after
wine?
I had swallowed it, so I think
Yeah.
it was
I
just
drank
like
he
half
says
the
that-
bottle and felt no more effect from
It
it.
So
tastes
it's
like
like
wine, and it's only after
the-
drinking it that it's not wine.
The
maybe
taste left his
maybe
mouth.
though he's just drunk
Yeah.
and,
That could also
and not
be.
admitting it.
Well, and Dorcas does drink it later. Like they drink it throughout the chapter.
Right.
What I was gonna say is like, okay, so he steals this wine from the inn. He just like finds this bottle and he like picks it up, like not a serious crime, but he does. And then when he's talking to Dorcas at the top of 55, he's like, "Would you like some wine? It was free. It was free." What a douche.
And then after that, he said, "I mean, 5-finger discount."
Yeah.
It was free.
I did note that was a weird thing for him to say, but I
Yeah.
didn't think about the fact that he just took it.
Yeah, it was free.
Great.
He's also 19, right, at this
I
time.
think
Okay, so yeah, he says it's only been months since he left.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Citadel. So
So that is also one other way in which he's an asshole, just being a 19-year-old.
For sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And under the drinking age.
yeah,
Which
A 19-year-old
the
guy who
true
people have
crime.
told like you are like
In Argentina,
you know you
probably 18, right?
it probably is 18, but
I
like
think that they changed the legal drinking age sometime before the sun dies.
maybe.
Funny.
Fucking 19-year-old with a big sword and a god complex. Like, God,
Love him.
such a bad plan.
The interesting part of this is when so Dorcas is talking and she says she vomited up these sling stones, and then there's this part where she's like, she talks about him being brave. She's like, I'm sorry though for what I said about your not being brave. You are brave. It's only that it seems not brave when you're doing things to the poor prisoners here. You were so brave when you fought Agilus. And brave when you were ready to fight Baldanders. She's like, I'm so tired. Okay, and then afterwards, so he says this, and
Oh, yeah.
Severian has this moment where he's like, I wanted to talk to you about that, about the prisoners. I want you to understand, even if you can't forgive me. It was my profession, the thing I was trained to do from boyhood.
It's literally the only thing I'm good at.
Yeah.
And you have to respect it.
Right, right. Well, it just seems like important. Seems important for the book and for Severian's character, like his devotion to this guild and.
But he's like, even before this, he's talking about it like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's
yeah.
interesting because he's saying like I feel like before when people would be like, oh, when he was talking to
Abdicius.
Abdicius.
The Archon of Threats.
He was like, you should be a master or something. He was saying like, I would never
Yeah.
like be able to be a master. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it seems like he's not even talking about like at this point in my life because of the stuff that happened. I would never be a master. I see. Right? He was sort of being like that
a
would
little
never
bit.
happen.
Right, because.
And now he's
yeah.
also
He
like,
just
I could have
doesn't-
been a master, right?
Mhm.
And then he introduces himself as Master
Yes,
Severian
he
later.
does
Yeah.
later.
Oh.
Yeah. That's
I also
really
feel like
interesting. Yeah.
he betrays every promise he makes to the guild except for the one about not revealing its secret.
Mm-hmm.
But his actions at this time, at every step of the way, he's like, and I love my guild and it defines who I am, and then as soon as somebody's like, hey, fuck that guild, he's like, yeah, fuck it.
But I think it's not because it's not that he loves the guild. It's that it's the one thing that people like applaud him for doing, and it's like how he validates himself because he's like, well, this is the thing that I'm good at. So he he's into the guild because it gives him that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
not
well,
because
I
he's
think
like loyal to anything or anyone.
Well, but I think he thinks that he's loyal to the guild.
Yeah, but-
I'm just saying that, at every turn.
Well,
as soon
that's-
as a
Right,
choice needs
because
to be
it
made,
doesn't
he's like,
because his loyalty is based in like
his perception.
When he's
ego.
by himself, he sees all the problems with his guild. But when there's someone else,
he's gonna stand up for him.
Yeah, if he loses the guild, he has no identity in that other person's eye anymore. Like,
But,
what is
but also from the beginning, he's like had this like fully loyal to the guild, fully loyal to what's his name, Woods Boy. Vodalis. I don't know. Blanked on it.
Woods Boy.
Woods Boy.
Woods Boy.
Yeah. So he had this like sort of full, you know, like I'm equally loyal to both of these at the same time. So I think he's always got this like trick that he's playing on himself.
Yeah, exactly. Because he also betrays Vodalis.
Yeah. I mean, he's like
The
he's loyal
first
to no
chance.
one essentially, but he thinks like in his head he's like, oh yeah, I'm taking care of everybody. Like I got this.
In fact, anytime he does something that could be construed as loyal, it only is because it happens by accident.
Or it's convenient for him to talk about it. Like, I feel like what he's doing here is like, oh, you know, like this job's really, really important to me. It's who I am. But really, he's just trying to wiggle out of the whole situation right
Yeah.
now. You know, like he's
Yeah.
just trying to disconnect from Dorcas and just like continue his adventure up to the, like he's already decided what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's just like making these excuses and trying poorly to communicate himself by just like defining himself by this guild, which he continually just, you know, betrays and
Yeah.
is
Because every
inconsistent with.
decision he makes is just looking out for number one. It has nothing to do, or just
Right.
like,
yeah, in the
or
moment.
he's just like, oh, I just had sex with this woman, so I don't want to kill her.
like, this is who I am, or I mean, you like
That is the best way to
like
stop yourself.
think of
Kill
being
yourself.
like working any profession, like especially like for like dude identifying people. You know, like you've had like conversations where you're like, this is what I do. You know, like this is who I am. You know, I gotta like move on. You know, like these kinds of things, and like.
Like a shit.
Right, well, it could be that, you know, or like a musician or something. Like, but like, I feel like that's what he's like, just having like one of those kinds of.
Can I just say I really like the term "dude identifying"? Like dude identifying.
I think there's a similar thing of
That works.
being
It's
raised
good.
Catholic.
I like it.
Like if you're raised Catholic and you identify, or you know, like I'm a person who was raised Catholic. I'm never not going to be that. And then like on my own, I can think about, like I can be very critical of the church. But when some Protestant starts talking about Catholic Church,
Or
I
worse
become-
yet, an atheist.
Oh yeah,
That's exactly right.
I'm hardly ever around that type anymore. So it's been.
Well,
haven't had to
we
deal
got
with it.
some here. We got some here.
But yeah, like I feel like that's a very Severian situation of like all of my critical thoughts about the church are in a whole different room when I'm talking to an atheist who's like, and the fucking Pope. Like I'm like,
That totally makes
wait
sense.
a second, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here.
Yeah.
It's like when you're complaining about your brother, and then your friend says something about your brother, and you're like, "Fuck you!" Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
It's like in The
Yeah.
Godfather.
Don't you talk
ever
about my
speak
mom.
against the family.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not unlike The Godfather.
Or in Sopranos when Meadow like turns on her friend,
Italian.
yeah, who are talking shit about their mob relatives.
Yeah, all these people are probably Catholics also.
But yeah, that is true.
But anyways, I think that this book is a series of Severian promising things to people, telling us how he's not going to do that, and then accidentally doing it anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah, he bumbles.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Is he
yes.
falling ass backwards into
bumbles.
success?
No,
That's
yeah.
just what he
well,
does.
he bumbles
falls-
and he is guided.
It's
Both
like it's like he's
together.
playing. It's like he's bowling with the bumpers up.
Yeah.
And
Where
then
he's just like, "Rah!" I don't know.
And that, of
Just like,
course,
boom, boom, boom.
is his
The
ability
backwards through the legs.
time travel. That's the bumpers, and that's why
Right.
there's
Yeah,
seven.
okay.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you just like loop back.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
That's why
understand
there's
it
7
better
of
now.
us.
Which Severian are you?
Ooh.
I died in the Nenafars.
I'm the Tuesday
Oh, I
Severian.
want to die.
I'm still innocent.
Alright, so now chapter 11, huh? The Hand of the Past.
So we started talking about this one a little bit.
This one's where they divvy up the money.
Oh, this is where he sucks real bad.
Oh, what the fuck is that? What's Humbaba's stick? I forgot to look that up.
Yeah,
Oh, mine is.
I didn't look it up.
What if we smoke it out of a bowl?
Yeah, do it.
What?
Put it in a bowl.
We're gonna smoke weed out of a bowl.
Holy shit.
What?
Wow.
I totally forgot
In a
about
first for the
I've never
Wolfpack.
smoked weed out of a bowl.
That's.
that. Not true.
I've never smoked
Never
weed
even
before.
seen a bowl. I'm gonna go get mine.
You don't have any papers?
Huh?
Oh, it's just on
Just
TV.
The bowl is better.
On TV.
If it's so offensive, it was just.
I don't think we've been fooling anyone.
On TV. Pretty generous.
I'll bring a little bit of everything and we can all choose. Is
Alright.
this okay, Jen? You alright with this?
With what?
All the things are happening.
He wants to smoke out of a bowl
I
on
was
TV.
On TV.
I'm not a cop.
Back internet.
That's what a cop would say.
I don't care what you
We
do.
could sequester ourselves in the corner.
Silly.
Off camera.
Joe Rogan smokes weed on camera all the time.
Hey, but not out of a bowl, like some kind of.
Yes, he
teenager.
does. He absolutely
Okay, so
does.
okay.
Of Wolfian criticism.
Yeah,
Go
clearly.
on.
Actually,
You guys,
I think if anyone's gonna
okay.
go there, the comparison
How
is
about
probably
this?
our meeting.
How about this?
I bet he
When
doesn't smoke weed.
Doesn't he?
I'm certainly not.
Yeah, no way.
okay, how about when Dorcas is talking about the Nenefars and she's making this like really cool like
Yeah.
kind of like reincarnation revival metaphor thing, and then Severian just says, "I have heard that too," I said, "but it means nothing to you or me."
Right.
Like, what
Right.
the fuck?
Don't
Yeah.
worry about
For
it.
real, like, what the fuck is
Right.
that?
That's-
What
He's
is that?
he's
Why,
very
like,
out of
and,
control.
like,
He's just-
this is like an actual question. Like, what is that? Why would anyone say that to someone else? Like,
He's like that this whole
Like,
conversation. He's
it's
just
so crazy.
yeah, for sure. He's
Good.
dismissing
I've
her
heard
from the
you
beginning of the
you
chapter.
just made this like beautiful speech about this really deep thing, and like
Yeah.
it is utterly
It's up to you.
insignificant
I'm also
to
really bad at
you
it.
Yeah.
or
So,
me.
Yeah,
Like,
So if you
yeah. He's
I hate him so much.
he's doing that this whole chapter.
I hate him so much.
She's like, you never asked me what I saw today, and then the next sentence at the beginning of the chapter is like, oh fuck, I was trying to not talk about what she saw today because I don't care about that.
Yeah, I
Because
just.
I know she's just gonna say some
It's
shit
just-
that she thinks is a really big deal, but it obviously isn't.
She's gonna make a bunch of salient points, and I'm just gonna have to ignore them
It's
completely.
his whole attitude through
And
these
then
two
she,
chapters.
but so he's like, well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then she just asks him a bunch of leading questions. Like she just does this like instead of just like out and saying what she's trying to say.
She's so
she's, like,
gentle with him.
trying to bring him along, but he just is like
where's
not
that part again?
refusing. This is 59,
She kind of
but
tries.
he's just like refusing.
She tries to reinforce his delusion about himself. It feels like to me, at least in his telling.
because she's like, oh, maybe I'm doing the thing that I said everyone else just does to you.
Oh, I don't mean specifically in this point. I mean
Oh,
over the
okay.
course of the whole story.
Oh.
She routinely, I feel like, tries to reinforce, like tries to make Severian feel like he's right about what he thinks is happening.
Oh, maybe that is her, like, part of her wisdom. Is that, like, to pull the rug out from under this dude is going to make him worse. To try to, like, lean into the little bit of confidence he has and push him from that point.
Well, just like everyone else, she's steering him.
Yeah.
Like that, it seems like that's all that anyone can do for Severian. Is like, this kid is so fucking dumb. We're just gonna have to steer him in the direction we want and make him feel like it was his idea.
Yeah. He's like,
But that could also be Severian's ignorance. It could seem like that because Severian thinks he's the most important thing. I mean, he thinks he's Jesus Christ. So, like, yeah, everything that everybody says seems to be steering him towards the thing that he has to
Oh,
do.
so he's just like recalling all of these things, like, you know,
Potentially.
like he's seeing the 23s or whatever, and just
Mhm.
like,
Potentially.
yeah, maybe.
Or
It's like,
it could
and that's
be-
how everything steered me in this one direction.
Or it could be that because he can time travel and he keeps going back in time so that he didn't die, he's actually traveled. The reason that in the end he becomes the new son, he just kept dying and traveling to the universe until eventually he was in the one where he was the most important person.
So what are you said there's
And
7
then everybody
deaths?
was. That's the theory. There's an article
So
in here
what-
that counts them all up.
What are they? Can we look at those? I think we've talked about it before.
We've
but
definitely talked about
I'm
it.
just curious as where we're at now with like Severian deaths.
Which one we're on?
Yeah.
Did he die via salamander? At least?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it seemed no, because he was like, oh, no, we got out.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know. Maybe they.
you know,
Oh.
Interesting.
like doesn't the claw just kind of change?
I think there's
things?
clear, like it's extremely clear where he dies.
Okay.
Like, in the Nenefar is definitely one.
I have a hard time doing those things.
And then the other ones that I know about are from the 5th book, so I don't want to talk about them that much, I guess.
Drowned in the
In the
drowned.
Nenefars.
I think it might be really
Well, yeah,
broad,
but
I
there's that, but
feel
then also like possibly like in the what's the botanical gardens, you know, when Dorcas pulls them out.
Oh, maybe.
Oh yeah.
There's that.
But he dies once on Zedkiel's ship. Apu Punchao is the Severian that dies in our prehistory.
Oh. Interesting.
Severian's always trying to convince himself he's the horse and not the cart, and he's always
Mhm.
the cart. And like
I've seen this a lot.
I almost wonder
Thank
if all of this ridiculous shit with Dorcas is just him doing that. In that like is maybe the real sequence of like causation here that he has to let Syriaca go. He can't not do that. He has to do it because he feels so bad about Jolenta, and there's like Thekla. He feels so bad about Thekla, and there's no way for him to make it up. So in this place where there's like kind of a facile way for him to make it up, he has to do it. He has no control. And then so that's the real cause here and he doesn't have a choice. And he has to organize everything around this thing he couldn't choose. So all of this shit about leaving Dorcas is maybe completely destroying his heart, but he's too afraid to stay here and suffer the consequences for letting Syriaca go.
Oh,
He has to leave because he's scared shitless, and he's
Yeah.
going to do this whole thing. I don't want to hear about that, Dorcas. I want to hear about that. Like, yeah, I know that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Like I got kind of the sense that this is a dude who does not want to break up, and also does not want to even admit to himself that he's breaking up with her because he's scared of being arrested.
Right.
Like, and then
Yeah.
that was one of the big things about this whole section to me is like, this is a big deal that he let Syriaca go, and he doesn't. I don't think understand why he did it, but it's a fact, and he has to deal with it. And like, is it?
Wait, but
Is
why is it a big deal?
Well, I'm wondering, is this like a situation where like awareness of sin is saving somebody's soul? Like, is the only reason that Syriaca lives because Severian did wrong and wants to atone for wrong that he did? And even as a complete fucking dumbass, that formula still results in good.
He
Possibly.
says something like that.
It's complicated though, because he's fully going to kill her throughout their conversation. And like, I can't remember, maybe we can find it here. Like, I guess at some point something clicks in his head and he's like, oh, I do remember him saying like, oh yeah, like I felt so guilty about Thekla, like I have to overdo this. But also 2 minutes before that, she was like, I might have information about the Pellerines. And he's like, I'm gonna torture it out of her. Right? Like, that's when he's talking about like the Humbaba's stick. Like,
Yeah.
he's like,
This is when he's talking about like when he's doing that jump back
Yeah.
and talking about with Syriaca.
I guess
This
so.
isn't from like the last.
Right, this
stuff
is
here.
going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think with Syriaca, like I don't think he realized that he was supposed to kill her until the soldier guy showed up and was like, "Oh, I see you found her."
Maybe.
Because that's how that section, from what we read last time, that section ends when he like basically sees this. I don't know, some head security guy. He comes in and he's like, "Oh, I see you found her." He's like,
Oh,
"Yes, I did. I totally did." And then it jumps to him getting out of Dodge.
Oh, third floor.
And then he doesn't go back and explain any
Right.
of this stuff until
The
later.
bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, use the 3rd floor bathroom.
Until he's like doing this flashback. So I don't think he even knew that he was supposed to be to kill Syriaca until he basically had to
talking.
fake that he knew that he was
Yeah.
supposed to the whole time.
It's kind of it's a very Arrested Development thing that he keeps doing. I feel like he's
Yeah.
like Joe Bluth of like, oh yeah, I'm here to kill her.
He is Joe Bluth. Good God, that makes so much sense.
Only
As he's getting crowned autarch.
Yeah, really.
Oh my god, like all of
Except
all
he's-
of the
except he's not
executions,
funny.
And he's like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't think Joe
Dead
is
ducks.
funny in the real world of Arrested Development either. He's very funny to us as watchers,
that's
but
true.
like,
No,
if
but-
you knew a
but-
guy, if you knew a
Joe
guy
is
like
not
that, it would be
But-
so
but
awful.
Severian-
being
It's not
around
funny
him
to
isn't
us.
funny. It'd probably be
No.
scary.
No,
Trying
he's,
to love Joe.
Oh.
that's because he doesn't. I don't think he has the
Severian's
context.
not funny in any layer
Yeah.
of the universe.
All the same,
Oh, he's made me
he
laugh.
still considers torturing her. Like when he
When he
finds
knows
out.
that's his deal, he's like, oh, okay, no, I guess I'll.
But he
do that.
also like okay, so this is what he says. Tell me if you like what I think is she says like, oh, I kind of know a little bit about the Pellerines, but she's not telling him, and he's like, oh, no problem, I'll just torture her and she'll
Yeah.
tell me about it. But I don't. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. So at the end of this chapter, 63 in the books, she goes. He's talking to Dorcas. He says, I knew, at least suspected, that she knew where the Pellerines were. She had been one of them for a time. There are silent means of excruciation that require no equipment, and although they are not spectacular, they are quite effective. One reaches into his body, manipulates the client's nerves directly. I was going to use what we call the Humbala stick. Don't know exactly what that refers to. But before I had touched her, she told me.
Oh, maybe it's like a pressure point.
Yeah, for
stuff
sure.
that-
Yeah.
Oh,
It goes
Kinda
into
like-
your body and touches your nerves.
I was
Yeah.
gonna,
Yeah, it's
But
gotta
you
be
can
like
make it
acupressure.
anywhere.
I was
So
gonna ask
whatever's
about
around.
what the hell he was talking about because how does he say it? He said something. Is it here? Where you're on page 63? Is that
Yeah.
The last paragraph.
Yeah, the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right towards the end.
Reaches into the body, like
Just
so.
like
Is he?
like a bad
Like-
massage.
Does that?
Yeah, that's. I bet that's what it is. It's just
I
like a
think
really
it's
bad-
like-
Does that mean he's using an orifice or something? Like
No, it's because he says "as it were" right after that. The
Okay.
next clause in that
It was the
sentence
"as it-"
changes that from a physical reality
it was the as it
to
were
like
that made me like.
to me this sounds like an energy thing. It's like you like they're practicing like chi type stuff. Like
Okay.
you can like do. There are like
Like some
art
Reiki shit?
forms
It's like
that
bad
involve
Reiki.
the body.
Yes,
There are like
yes,
ancient art forms that involve the body that are like energetic
That's
and
like a
basis.
Star Wars reference. He was ready to be like.
It's kind of it's a Vulcan neck pinch kind of situation.
Yeah, it's like a-
exactly.
it's like
Think
a-
of Death Punch at the end of Kill Bill.
Yeah,
Ah.
sorted.
Yeah.
But it's
But that all
he's
those
saying Humbaba stick and reaching into your body. I think to create a dread here for us as readers.
Maybe it's a sexual excruciation.
Well,
I
if
think
it
it's
isn't,
dread
I think
that
he's
the
using.
torturers came up with
I was
rather
kind
than
of wondering
severity.
if
It
it
could
was
definitely
a
be
sexual
phallic.
thing.
I kind of
Definitely
think, yeah.
considered phallic.
Or if it isn't, Wolf wants us to go, he wants our skin to crawl with those associations.
That's exactly what it did to me. I was wondering if it was like sticking your like finger in someone's ass or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that doesn't hurt. That feels great.
It's also, yeah.
Tell me!
But I think you could make it hurt a lot.
Not possible.
It's always great.
I mean, yeah, the more you try to make it hurt, the more like flattered your subject feels.
Okay.
Oh lord.
You're doing such a good job.
Okay, so it's not in here. I was wondering if like
What
maybe
Humbaba stick?
if it maybe like Humbaba is somebody or something.
Sure.
Humbaba's gotta be somebody.
It's gotta be a guy. Yeah.
It's, Humbaba is someone from the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
it's
I.
not-
That's what I was
It's the
thinking,
it's
yeah.
the beast that kills Enkidu that makes it so that Gilgamesh wants to go on his quest for immortality, I believe.
Cool. So it's inspiring. It's
yeah.
an inspiring excruciation.
It's a monster of chaos whose face is a mass of entrails, I believe.
Well, I'm a fucking giant.
Here, I'm going.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah, ancient Sumerian. Technically, Humbaba the Terrible, monstrous giant raised by Utu the sun.
Oh, hey.
Interesting. Guardian of the cedar forest where the gods lived.
In Lebanon.
And Gilgamesh and Enkidu defeated him.
Oh, really? But does
Oh,
Enkidu
maybe,
die?
but I think Enkidu dies
Yeah.
as part of that. Yeah. Yeah, his various examples of face described in a single coiling line, like that of the coiled entrails of men and beasts. So he's just got like a weird like
Intestine
lumpy
head.
intestine face.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Was the bird in? So there's a play called The Golden Spike that Perron wrote that is based on Enkidu, right?
Yeah.
And Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
And I was Enkidu and Doug was
Oh, yeah.
Gilgamesh. And was the big puppet that Madison made Humbaba?
The
Thunderbird?
Thunderbird.
Well, there's also this is so. I don't remember the Epic of Gilgamesh perfectly. I believe that it starts with Humbaba, but then there's another beast that I think was the zoo. I think.
It's like Enkidu is killed in that sort of like whatever part 1 adventure,
Right.
And then that causes Gilgamesh to like kind of embark on this like greater epic.
Right.
That's
The bird killed the Enkidu and Golden Spike.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't
I-
remember that much about.
I think
Golden
it's.
Spike,
I think that
to
the
tell
like
truth.
that last part with the cactus and the like the
Yeah.
sort of weird like spirit journey that happens. I think that's more like the second, the back half of Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that much about that play either.
The reason I brought it up was just because I was trying to determine, like, was he saying he was going? Was this a torturous thing he was about to do to Syriaca,
Yeah,
or is it
I think
more
so.
not so? Is it a little bit more innocuous than that? Like,
I always thought it was pressure points.
Yeah,
just
I think
like-
it's like
Makes
a.
sense.
Yeah, I think it's like some kind of
I had interpreted it as painful.
invasive,
You
physically,
okay?
like
Yeah.
energy, like chi,
Just
thing,
getting
or
the
pressure
truth out of
point
people.
or something.
Okay.
Which is
is
chi.
related.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
all that shit is chi.
Totally.
So I'm
Is that
gonna.
chi?
I'm saying this is chi tricks.
Chi tricks. Okay. It seemed to me
I like
like it was
chi
just like a squeezing, a painful
Could be.
squeeze,
It's a kind of a hug.
a bad hug.
He says also, like, it's not hard to strangle somebody who has a weak neck, and I was
Right.
flexing my fingers. getting
Right.
ready
I
for
mean,
it.
that's the vibe I get here. I mean,
Like,
that I got here.
He's gonna, like, do shit. Right?
Yeah, he's like, oh, just a regular day. Like, oh, she has something I want. I'm gonna squeeze it out of her right now.
But when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yep. Yeah. And he's definitely, I mean, like,
Nice.
we've seen him use pressure points before, right?
Yeah.
When he had to prove himself
Yeah.
at the first day of his journey.
Highly,
As soon
highly
as somebody
entertaining.
is like, well,
scene.
show him who you are, he's like, BAM! And the guy's like on the ground.
Yeah.
Apparently, Humbaba doesn't kill Enkidu.
Oh, no?
I'm trying to find this out.
Well, like I said.
Also, before this chapter, do we know that Thekla's eyes are violet?
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah,
there's
just
two
strip
descriptions of that in
almost
this
in
section.
eyes.
Okay. I just never picked up on that. I thought that
I mean,
was
we don't know if it has been. It must have been mentioned before.
There's two mentions of it in these four chapters.
It must be mentioned earlier when he meets her or whatever.
Violet
Yeah.
eyes?
Yeah.
I just don't remember it from
Yeah,
before.
me neither.
But my point in saying that is in that way is that it might just be that I feel that way because
Because
I
you've read
read these
it,
books
you've
so
been
many
through
Yeah.
the cycle.
I'm really not sure.
I don't know. Just a little detail I picked up on. Okay.
Alright.
Do we want to move on?
Yeah.
The flood.
So
Alright.
So at that he basically releases the reservoir into the dungeon, which I guess is like kind of like a long spiral with a drain at the bottom. And then that's I guess just a distraction. So people will come and see like, oh, why the fuck is the water going? And then he just goes down with the water and goes through the drain, right?
Guess yeah.
Or something.
Guess
Well, I
was
think
wondering.
it's like
Proving Mr. Rogers wrong.
the entryway is under the water. So
Yeah,
he
you-
wants to flood it out.
Yeah, he's
Flush it out so
going
we can get in
through
there.
the cistern, so he has to empty the cistern.
Oh,
And then
okay.
it goes down.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he goes down the tunnel.
Yeah, and he goes down the tunnel and like like rejuvenates all of the prisoners while he's going.
Which is kind of tight.
It is, and they don't even see him. He can just
Because he's
like
blinding them.
yeah, and he can just watch them watching the claw like he's not even there. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of almost gives our Jesus a run for his money.
It is nice. It is nice to have
That's an awesome
a dude
thing to
who's
say.
like it's totally outside of himself. But we never get a first person account of Jesus,
Biblical
so we don't
Jesus
know
is
that.
great at all.
Well, we just don't
Severian
acknowledge
is the
the
best
first
Jesus
person
of all
account that we
time.
have.
Which is what?
The Gospel of Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Is it
in the
good?
Nag Hammadi scrolls. I haven't read it, but I believe that there's a part where he's like, after the crucifixion from Egypt, he's like, "Ha ha! I tricked all those fuckers. Ha ha! That Simon the Cyrenian, he fucking died. Ha ha ha!" Is apparently part of that gospel.
I love the like the different whatever non-syncretic or whatever the Gnostic Gospels where there are a bunch of stories where Jesus like accidentally kills somebody and then brings them back to life.
The infancy of Jesus.
Yeah.
Where like somebody at school pisses him off, so he kills them. So the teacher's like, "You can't do that," so he kills the teacher. Else he like makes a dove and like brings it to life and then kills it and then brings it back to life and then kills it.
Yeah, I can see why they maybe didn't leave those in.
Too cool.
Too cool. Yeah, really.
I really
So
liked
cool.
the just as the room of the Inquisitor with its high judicial bench lurks somewhere at the lowest level of the House Absolute. So we each have in us the dustiest cellars of our minds a counter at which we strive to repay the debts of the past with the debased currency of the present.
Yeah, it's a good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And it's like that idea that like we always conceive of the torture chamber as being low underground, and like when this book starts, when Shadow starts, and we're hearing about this torture, this like spaceship full of tortured people, like it completely conforms to your like mental archetypal image of the torture chamber. It's like dank underground hidden place, and that is like a place in all of us that we're dealing with, with our own fucking guilt. I really love how he says that right
In
now.
our memory palace.
Yeah.
Can we
Chamber of
go?
our
I want to
memory.
go back to the beginning, like before that,
Uh-huh.
when they're talking about the Cacagins. What?
Love the kick.
I was like a little bit confused by this, but I might just not be remembering something, so that's why I'm asking about it. But so what she says that he should be careful because the Cacagins have landed somewhere in the north, and then she says anyone found near them will be assumed to have been spying for them, or what's worse, seeking them out in the hope of enlisting them in some plot against the Phoenix throne. So
That part was weird.
the Cacagins are working against the new sun, or that's just like some kind of popular narrative in the.
I think the Cacagins are like they're a threat to what's happening on Earth because they just have so many other things going on that like whatever's going on with Cacagins is not going to be in the best interest of the people in charge of Earth. I mean, it's like if you live in a third world country and a bunch of like British tourists show up, that can fuck up your shit real easily. I feel like they don't want people going near the. Like if you're a regular subject of the Autarch, you should be paranoid and scared of the Cacagins. And if you're actively going towards them, it must be either because you were already enlisted by them, or you're like interested in this quantity that exists entirely outside of legit government. Either way, you're suspicious. Like there's no good reason a powerless person in this world would want to go talk to another planetary being.
I just read yesterday. I read Ursula K. Le Guin story that like reminded me of this. So it's Semile's necklace, which is just about which I think is a pretty widely read one. But it's where it sort of starts with these kind of human-ish beings talking about these other kind of humanoid beings on another planet, and then like it kind of details this like sort of fable-like story of the people on this planet as they like kind of come into contact with this alien race and then have to like pay taxes to them, and they don't really like know what the deal is with any of it. Like it's just these people are basically treating them like third world country, like you know, just these are the natives on this tourist stop, and then they like actually encounter this one who like goes through this sort of whole journey to try to get this necklace back that was her family, like her birthright. And then at the end of it, one of the like sort of alien characters is like, oh, I get the feeling that we just like kind of like dipped into their lives and created this myth for them. And it's I don't know, it seems like that's what happens here a lot too. The Kakagens have like on one level they're like contacting certain members of this culture, but not really all of them. And so some people have a clearer idea of who they are, but they're even like the Exultant's idea of who these Kakagens are is not really like the full deal.
And it could be like it seems like the people on Earth have no idea how many planets there are, how many races there are, or species there are on the planets. Like anytime a ship lands, it could mean anything. It's just bad for, you know, even if they're beneficent. You know, like aliens, they could completely upset the power balances that exist by being nice to this person.
And that's what that's exactly what happens in the Le Guin stories, because she like these basically they end up having contact with this like cave dwelling. They call them troglodytes. They're like dwarves or something, and they like kind of uplift them a little bit and give them better technology, but they like steer them in one direction particularly. They're like, oh, we'll have them do a lot of industry stuff, so let's steer them that way. But then all of the other like cultures on this planet are just like are scared of the group of the troglodytes who speak to the aliens, and they're also just scared of they don't know what this shit is. And there's like space travel that happens, but it's described as this like bizarre like kind of like abduction experience essentially.
That's great.
Oh, like
exactly.
Like when we engage in space travel, it's always an abduction experience.
Right.
Which book is that in?
I have a collection, like it's the Real and the Unreal is the collection that I have that it's in.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was originally collected as part of.
This is not the point, and I don't know if I wrote down where the point was, but talking about the troglodytes makes me think of that awesome bit where he's like talking about how humanity always crawls back into the caves at the lowest point of every civilization cycle. That was cool.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
every civilization cycle.
Yeah, that like was just such a quick, like the idea of that when people in caves have gone back into them, that's such a big fucking idea. And
you know about aquatic?
Oh, you know, I just heard that quote. I forget who it was that said it, but it was like, I don't know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but I know World War IV will be fought with sticks and
I
stones.
think it's Einstein, right?
I can't remember.
I think it's Einstein.
It could be. But I just like reheard that quote the other day, and I was like, damn, that's so real. God.
I'm interested in this.
I'm good, but you can.
We're fine.
Whatever.
I feel good.
It feels good, man.
I'll put it in this
Good.
one.
There you go.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I think I just realized that the person who said that.
It was Joe Rogan.
No, it was, I'm pretty sure that it was when I was listening to the Chapo Trap House interview with Marianne Williamson.
Oh.
Yes.
Which is
My president. Yes.
Which
It would
is
be cool if she
interesting.
was president.
It would be.
I
Yes.
cool.
It would be amazing.
I think that
I'm gonna get a pen.
she's like mostly pretty on point, actually.
That was an
like,
Einstein quote
but-
initially.
but-
just like feel
Oh
okay about
no!
it.
I
Was
know
an
it's
Einstein
not.
quote.
I know it's not. I know it wasn't her.
Oh, okay.
I know
okay.
it was
Just
I
her
think it might
quoting
have been.
someone. I
think she came up with
remembered
that.
that's what I was listening to. is why I
She's
was
the one who
thinking
said love will win.
Yeah. She's going to
She-
defeat him with
she
the
said-
Speaking of
so
Chapo
much. I
Trap
love
House,
it.
we're gonna start a Patreon soon. Not today.
For Marianne Williamson's campaign.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
All proceeds go to our candidate.
I will
Wolfe.
say though.
for
No, I will
Williamson.
say though. The thing about
endorsed.
her is that she is like.
She's so
You know
beautiful.
how you guys probably have this experience, but it's like to me it's like people who I know who are the most like empathic people the least kind of like masculine left brain logic
Right,
people I
for
know are like have this like I have several friends who are just intelligent in have like very high intelligence in the way more like the other realms that aren't that
I
realm.
know.
And
Kind of
and the
realm.
the level and that she not that I think Marianne Williamson is like all the way down on that end, but all I'm trying to get to is that I think the like levels of misogyny that will be like put like the argument against her, I would like to say, is an inherently like misogynistic argument.
For
Totally.
Sure.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
and I think like I'm like kind of terrified by the kinds of things I know we will all hear people say
Yeah.
about her.
It
Like,
is
you know,
Dorcas and
not
Severian.
that I
Although
It is
you know,
totally
al-
Severian coming at Dorcas when we do this to her.
I would like to point out that the last time we had a candidate who was running against 23 other people, that we were like, well, we're not even going to take this seriously. We'll probably talk about it a whole bunch because it's so funny. That person became president.
Yeah, it was
but-
like
but-
that happened
but-
3 years
She
ago.
may
Let's
be
do it.
the
no,
next
but
president.
I think there's there's so much misogyny in our culture
So baked
that
into our
that
psychology.
that allows for a Trump out of left field
Yeah.
reality. Like
Right.
I'm not saying it's absolutely impossible. I'm not making any absolute statements, but like I just think if she were in a general election and was thus the like focus of attention, the type of shit that would be used to discredit her would be like real nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that will keep going on until they come at somebody like that and that person like
Obliterates it.
yeah,
with,
just goes
Yeah.
you know.
Which wouldn't it be great if she did that?
She
This
could.
election?
Yes.
That
Will
would
happen.
very well
I
could
do.
happen.
At some
that
point
being
it will
said-
happen.
That being said,
What if
I
she was
do
right
think
and love
I
wins?
do think inherently that the thing that has to that the thing that defeats Trump is ethics. Like I think I think you have to come at him, or you have to like be.
Yeah, the
Because
science and
a
reason is not going to do it.
Clinton, a Harris, a Booker, a Biden, like
Not gonna work.
a Buttigieg, like
That guy.
they it's not a credible
No.
like
It's not a counterforce.
counterforce.
Let's
It's not
the Democratic Party is set up to support this very like these are all the facts. This is the
Right.
science that we understand. and
Data
we can all
polling.
yeah, like
Well,
we can all agree
No,
that this is the
you
right
know what
choice.
it comes
and it's
down
silly
to.
that you wouldn't agree.
You
with
can
it.
have a perfect. I don't know if you guys watch these debates, and I maybe we don't want to talk about politics for that long, but I just
I
have
totally
something
watched them.
to say, which
Let's do it,
is
let's do it.
the thing about the Democrats at large is that they don't have values. They're just obsessed with procedure, and
Yeah.
and that to me was like a perfect crystallized metaphor in how Joe Biden kept cutting himself off for time.
Yeah.
He'd be in the middle of everyone else in all debates that's ever happened.
Pushes it,
Just
yeah.
finishes what they're saying. It goes a little over time. They're like, that's time, and they just like finish
Yeah.
the sentence because they have something that they want to say. And Biden would just be in the middle of a sentence and he'd be like, that's my time. And-
Yeah.
but the thing that
Yeah,
he's talking
I
about
understand
is
that.
like trying to defend himself against like being basically called a total shithead racist. And he's like, oh, sorry, that's my time. He's like, I'm a good guy. I mean,
Because he doesn't want to talk about that.
But it's exactly what I'm saying is like they have no world. Their whole worldview is based on procedure.
Yeah, and
Right.
That's their whole thing.
That's what
It's
drives
like,
me crazy about listening to NPRs, because they bring on these experts and these pundits who are like, well, according to this law set in 1995, you really can't do this unless you have this kind of thing going on. And that's just like, that
Nationalist
doesn't
public
doesn't
radio.
mean anything
It's why
to
we have
anyone.
It's
So-
why we have shitty ass Obamacare, because those people allowed 100 Republican amendments to that bill and got 0 Republican votes.
Yeah.
It was also that
It
bill
was like
written by
you
the
need
health
to
insurance
shove
companies.
universal health care down the Republicans'
Throat.
fucking throat. Like,
Seriously.
that's what they would do to you.
It's the only way.
Like-
yeah.
Yes.
I-
Yes.
What the
but they
fuck?
won't.
Do you
They're gonna
actually care about
cannibalize
anything?
themselves.
You don't care about
They
anything
don't.
Because you have to-
except procedure.
Because you have to preserve the procedure. That's like
I feel-
if whatever, it's the they go low, we go high thing. It's like we preserve the procedure. They play in the dirt. Yeah.
I must say, ethics is not going to do it. Ethics.
they're not alone.
The moralist secures wide support, but exhausts his audience. Like
No,
ethics
it has
works
to
in
be-
a really short
Ethics and
burst.
morals are two different things.
No, but you
The
no.
pushing ethics
You
comes
have
off
to
as
couch it
morals
in a
too.
narrative. You have to couch it in a convincing narrative.
I
Like
think-
the storytelling is the thing that Democrats can't do that Republicans can do.
Yeah, you need, but charm is more important than ethics or anything else. Charm is going to win. Trump does not have charm. He's got a weird fucking like working the room alpha vibe, but the way you subvert that is not to be like Johnny good guy in the room. He'll eat that fucking person alive every time. You have to be cooler than him. And in every way, like cooler, like I want to be that guy, and also cooler, like this shit doesn't bother
And
me.
also more authentic too. And
Yeah,
I feel like
I mean,
people's bullshit radars are so attuned right now. Like when I see a politician-ish person talk, I can like cut through like several layers of their
Well,
bullshit.
and part
just
of what
'cause
I-
my analysis skills from being a 21st century human are
Exactly.
just so attuned.
Yeah,
to so
just
many
inundated.
And part
You
of
guys
what
are
I-
describing AFC.
Yeah,
And part of it is
Sanders.
like is yeah, just being able being convincing.
But Sanders
That
is
you-
convincing. He's authentic.
I actually think he did really badly. I think
He's not a great debater.
I think
Not.
he repeats himself too much. He
Yeah.
only talks in super generalizations, and I feel like he's kind of like cruising. It's like how I felt about Ben Jealous. I felt like he just like phoned that whole campaign in. Wasn't really. I
Just
think
wasn't great.
by contrast, I think Warren is like
Warren's good.
after those debates, I was like, I think I gotta like switch over.
She's got her
I
fire,
think that
so-
she has like a record and the way she talks. Both of those things are very convincing in her interest in working people. She's, I think, the most convincing advocate for working people who's running. And I think that could translate to a wide audience. I think, like, her way of storytelling is more convincing than Bernie's way of storytelling. I think Bernie... I don't know. Anyway.
I think Elizabeth Warren can also bridge process and
Yeah.
ideal,
Yeah. I
where
get the-
Bernie's kind of more firmly stuck in ideal.
Well, right, but which is also evidenced
Which
by
is
the
why
fact
Democratic
that, which is
establishment
also
can't handle
evidenced
it.
by
Right.
the fact that you have the sense that Warren is out there grinding in the Senate. She's like grilling people on committees. She's like going in there with, she's like bare knuckles in there. And Bernie, you don't really hear about him doing that. He's kind of just like goes around making speeches and stuff. And I just feel like that's not convincing to me. I think I think Warren could capture
It's
a
interesting you
wider.
articulate it like that. I agree with you. I think Warren's great. I'm concerned that the public perception will be exactly the opposite of what you described, and they're like, "Oh, she's just another like wonky Senate person. She's not inspiring." That's
I
my
mean, I
fear.
think the way
Oh,
she
but people are
performs is
inspired.
much more convincing. This is like entirely based on the debate.
I also
Like,
agree
because
with you.
like I'm not actually into her foreign policy, but because I have been finding her performance convincing, that leads me to choose to believe that it's possible you could push her on some things that she has bad ideas about.
I also think she's a better symbol, and I think that it's symbols that are going to
Yeah.
win this
Yeah.
war.
Yep.
I also
I'm mainly
think
not
that
into
a vote
voting for
for-
an old white dude at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna work.
I also think that
Jew,
a vote
he's a
for
Jew.
anyone, a vote for
Different.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
As a Jew,
A vote for
I'm a white passing Jew.
A vote for anyone besides Yang is a vote for Silicon Valley. Because guaranteed basic income is happening, and if it's not happening from our government, it's happening from Silicon Valley, and the only person who's talking about that is Yang, And I wish that when they asked him how he was going to do it, he didn't just say, what? Which he then went on to say a great thing, but because he said what first, that's the soundbite.
The problem is, but he still is a tech bro, and he's coming at it from the point of view of a tech bro. And the problem with tech bros talking about UBI is that it never includes like universal health care, housing, transportation, like all the other shit that you need.
You have to.
Because basically a UBI without all of that stuff is just them being like, what is the least amount I can give you to not revolt?
And it's a libertarian idea. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
he's a libertarian.
Total libertarian. I mean, Silicon Valley, they're like all like ANCAPs and stuff. Like it's not really.
I refuse to vote for a libertarian.
If we all get $1,000 a month, everything's gonna become so expensive. It's just going to not matter.
A UBI is okay. It just has to be couched in all this other shit.
Exactly. Because then,
which is why we got to get the
if
government
housing is guaranteed,
they
can't raise your rent $1,000 because they know you have an extra $1,000.
But if you can get a progressive and enough progressives who can legislate that you can make it where the goal is not to like have the most comfortable version of a technocracy where like corporations rule everyone. That sucks the least.
It's not
like the goal is to stem the.
I mean, it's the most likely way that we're going to get a guaranteed basic income. Right.
I think the persistence of the state is like up for debate. I don't know that the state is going to persist indefinitely, as all of our arguments about it assume.
It might not. I feel like it should persist, in my opinion, and I feel like
I think you don't act like it's going to persist unless you're actively planning.
The reason why Sanders and Warren are correct is because they frame the conversation in terms of breaking up the companies, putting that money back to the state, and also de-escalating like foreign wars and taking those resources and bringing them back. Like that's like the central message. That's the only way any of this shit's going to work. Yang version isn't going to work because he doesn't couch it in deconstructing corporations. Like the government, the state can't do UBI. Like that's gonna the pieces don't add up. The money's with the corporations.
Soon we should get back to the book.
I can't. I feel like at this point I can't get really deep into the details of like policy, because it feels to me like you know how there's like a very realistic basketball video game you can buy.
Go on.
And like I'm getting ready to play this basketball video game, and to be inundated with information about how to play basketball well is not helpful, because playing basketball really well and knowing how to play basketball well doesn't help you at all to play a video game, no matter how realistic it may be.
Yeah.
And that's what the election feels like to me. Is like all the information that I have is about something other than what's happening.
For the most part.
It's about the thing that what's happening resembles or what it recalls, but it's not about the actual game that we're playing, and it doesn't address the mechanics of the game that we're playing.
Sure.
And so, I'm finding, whereas previous times in my life I would try to be informed and like on top and have opinions about stuff, it's all just going in it's single stream recycling in my head now. I throw it all in, I rinse some of it off, but it all goes in the same bin.
But I think it's good. I think it's like the watching of it. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't know. I mean, some of it's nuts and bolts, but a lot of it's just like, it's like you have to watch the debate because the breakdowns that are going to come later are mostly all garbage. Like you have to like see actually how it happens and like see what the people.
I'm not trying to convince you not to see it. I'm glad that you'll see it so that I can be even less guilty about me not seeing it.
I felt like I got a lot out of watching those two debates.
It's very interesting to watch. I mean, how leftward the Democratic Party has moved in the last 4 years, let alone the last 10 or 12 years. Yeah. Like, think about watching debates between fucking Kerry and Bush, like, whenever the hell that was happening. That sucked. Like, those debates were sucked.
You know who was good? Ross Perot.
Yeah, he was. Can I finish?
He was great. It's
cool.
like an election is a theater event.
Yeah,
that's
it
how
is.
it'll be.
That's why you
won.
have to watch it. You
That's-
can't just read the review.
I mean,
No, I'm glad to.
one of the great things
hear
about this debate was to think about how the Republicans did it last year, and like just watching that's cool.
Yeah. I think we should talk about the book again,
Yeah.
but I have a lot
Little-
to say
little
about the
detour,
debates. I have a
little
lot
bonus.
to say
I'm
about
glad
the
to hear
debates
about it,
in
'cause
general.
I do too.
I don't think this is the
too
time
stressful
and
for
place
me
for
to
it.
read strangers talking about it online and hearing about it from people that I actually know and like talk to about other things. This is the ideal way I would like to encounter information about the debate.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. I've been talking about it a lot.
So
Anyway.
to bridge from talking about the
Yeah.
government of our world,
Yeah.
I
the
actually I
future
have some
government of our world.
questions because the chapter where Sarasia is giving him all of this information, it was like kind of confusing. It made me confused about the government of this world and like the hierarchy of the hierodules and like this and that. Like when she is it over here? Where is it? Oh, maybe this is the last chapter. Sorry. But, like, she says something like, yeah, the autarch works for the Pellerines, duh.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. And he's like, well, I asked Svekla, and she was just like, she doesn't really think so.
Mhm.
But, you know, like, so I'm thinking, okay, so the Pellerines are on the side of the new sun. They're into the new sun.
Yeah.
The autarch is into the new sun. Sarasia is a Vodalis person. She's on the side of Abaya. She
Erebus.
says, yeah, she says Erebus.
Yeah, she does.
She says Abaddon and Erebus, right?
Yeah.
Or he says Abaddon. Someone?
Oh yeah, no. I think
Someone says
Severian says it.
Oh, it's her. She says Erebus.
Yeah,
But
she
I
says
don't know.
Erebus as like a curse.
Yeah.
She
So
says
like,
like everyone
Maron-
Erebus, pardon me.
Erebus.
Because she says everyone first. That's like really interesting.
What page is that?
I think it's everyone. It's she.
64?
I think the way I read that is that she feels like she's about to betray them. And she's like,
Yeah.
everyone, my
Because
like,
she's giving them information.
yeah, my comrades, my God, I'm sorry, I'm about to fucking do this. Rats them out.
Yeah. And like, okay. So yeah, because does she know he's the new son?
I don't think so.
Or do you think she's just like, oh, I can get away?
Yeah.
Because
Think she
does she
doesn't
know
wanna
how
get
much
killed.
she's really betraying them, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I think just
Right.
talking to somebody who was going to kill her about them would
I
feel like
guess
a
there's
betrayal.
nothing she could do. She can't kill Severian.
Yeah.
Which is like, if she were acting on... She could. It's not like she has the opportunity to kill him here. She, like, kind of has to get away. And the only way to do that is to
Yeah.
let him get away.
The only option she has is to go off and to like call a soldier.
Yeah, so so she probably doesn't know that he's the new son.
No, because
I don't think
she
so.
seems pretty
Okay.
removed from a lot. Because she says like I've never seen the autarch, but I'm told
Oh.
that
He's only
he-
like
yeah that
5
that he's
years.
scarcely taller than I am, and so like she seems to be more on the outside of a lot of that stuff and have feelings
Oh,
about
yeah.
be like, and I guess be on the like Vodalis side, but not necessarily in a like key player
Engaged
sort of way.
Because there's another thing she said.
She's
oh,
boned
yeah.
some Vodalis.
The fact that she doesn't know what's really going on. She's like, yeah, everyone knows that he's working for the Pellerines. Is that why she left the Pellerines? Maybe.
Well, she says that she wanted to leave the Pellerines, you know, basically not be a nun, so she could like hook up.
Yeah, so she could be hot.
Yeah. I think she says.
Try to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuns are hot.
But do they enjoy it?
That's probably why they go to be nuns, because they don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, also, a true Catholic would enjoy not enjoying something.
Good point.
Thank you.
There you go.
Well, I would hope that they like their life as a nun.
Seems like you got to be the right person
Seems
for
like
it.
someone
Yeah.
to do.
Seems like there was a lot
It
of
doesn't
nuns in
always work
history
out.
who were just
True.
constantly orgasming.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
Anyway,
so a little note here. So Syriaca's like, I can flee, you know, I can work, I can be a seamstress, or I can wash dishes. And then literally like 2 paragraphs later, Dorcas is like, I can whore.
yeah.
Like, I can whore. Like, I don't
She's
know,
like,
it's
no, yeah, like,
interesting.
well, I feel like Dorcas was maybe
trying to like
I think that her bluntness there was definitely like something she was. I don't know. She was trying to get to Severian with that. For
I agree.
sure.
Oh yeah, get him to come along with her. And
Yeah, she's
stuff.
like, no,
Yeah, because
no.
I mean, she doesn't really want to go by herself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Right.
she's like, I guess I can whore. And
Him letting
Seems like
Siriaka
they
go
should
is
go
such a big
together.
deal.
They should travel together, and I'd like to see that TV show.
It's way much more of a bigger deal than the order in which this information is presented would really allows it to take.
I agree. Well, I mean, supposedly in this portion of the book, supposedly we're seeing Severian like discard his torturer side and like enter into more of like a a Jesus-y kind of hero side. Supposedly, right?
Yeah.
But it's also complicated by all of his fucking actions and thoughts. But I think, like, in the narrative, you're right. I mean, I do think that this
Giving us this
is a
shit
turning
out of
point
order.
for
This
Severian.
is his final departure from the guild. This
Yeah.
is the last vestiges of the guild.
And instead of it being
Yeah.
like the culmination that it is, it's this really like totally like disjointed and broken story that's told fucking backwards and inside out.
Mhm.
Right, because if you finally plunged a dagger into your mother's heart, you wouldn't want to tell people about it.
Yeah. I mean, I would never
You
do
want to be
that.
like, it was just some metal and a lady, I don't know.
Yeah. It,
But you're saying it's weird that it's like switching back and forth between like the Dorcas and Syriaca part.
Oh, just
Yeah.
well, yeah,
Which-
but I think
which
for
he
the
doesn't
reason
do
he's saying is
anywhere
that like he can't make he can't deal with this with what it for what it is.
Yeah.
But it also
And so he
because it's so
outbusts
important, it makes I don't know. I feel like Gene Wolfe is like making a play here, like, and I feel like it has something. I feel like he's starting to make this argument that doesn't matter how fucking dumb and horrible and selfish you are, like there is a natural rhythm that when you fall into, like will leads to rebirth.
Trends upward.
Yeah, and that like this letting go of Syriaca is a thing breaking. It's like he's in the rhythm now. He's like clicked into the loop.
And then having that happen pretty much at the same time as he does it with Dorcas, maybe just reinforces that he's like, whatever.
In the timeline,
That's so un-Catholic.
is
What, everything changing all at once?
No, the like, it doesn't matter how shitty you are, you will still do good things. Like this whole, it's a very Calvinist seeming thing, predestination.
I think the difference is love, because I feel like the conciliator is the thing you're like clicking into here. It's not like it's not the fate of your personal fate. It's the physics of the universe. That love is part of the physics of the universe, and
I believe that.
yeah, and even a fucking dumbass who can like fall out like backwards into the rhythm that like makes you forgive, makes you show mercy, like it causes you to be reborn.
So this is kind
It
of
was
more.
love
It's
the
kind
whole
of more
time.
of a Simonist view of like Jesus' love renders sin impotent.
Yeah. I think there's a big sin thing happening here.
Yeah.
I think he's done this crazy thing. Syriaca, there's no fucking reason for him to let her go. It doesn't help him in any way. It only hurts him. But he has to do it. And it's because of guilt. And like this thing that's so horrible that we wish we could discard, this like cloak of our fucking culture, like it has a purpose here. It makes sense that it's
Well, it's an atonement for not being able to save Thecla.
yeah.
In a major way.
Yeah, and like I feel like it starts to make sense. Like why does guilt exist? It's so that Severian can like instead of wheeling off into space and just flying away can like become better.
so Severian's tortured and killed like tons of people in between Thecla and now, right?
Yeah.
What is it? Why is he starting to turn now? Is it his exposure to the prisoners? Is it Dorcas? You know, like I feel like it seems like it's Dorcas subtly affecting his psychology.
Do you know what I think
Like,
it is?
yeah.
I think it's the boring routine. I think he's getting tired. He was on an adventure before
Now he's
doing his thing.
Totally.
Like-
Before it was all he knew. Now he's like, fuck.
It
like,
reminds me of
do this
when
every fucking day.
He's,
but
yeah, now
better.
I'm here, I'm stuck here. I have this like fucking stronghold full of people that I have to kill. And Dorcas hates it. Like, she hates being here and doing this.
And I gotta do all this paperwork.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's like feeling the burden.
He's not into
of
paperwork.
He now has the burden of responsibility in a way that he absolutely did not have before as like a freelance headsman. You know, just like roving the countryside.
It's the moment in your first job out of college when you realize there will never be a summer vacation and you will never graduate.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And
Yeah.
and so he's like, and because when he left the Citadel at the beginning, you know, he's just like, oh, I'm so free. I could do anything now. This is like
It's
my
the
life
happiest
is.
we've ever seen.
Yeah. I have my whole life ahead of me, and now he's like, all right, I've got a hole in the ground full of like starving prisoners.
His fight with his girlfriend, she moved out.
Yeah,
He still has to
exactly.
pay her
Yeah,
rent
it's
anyway.
Turns out
shitty.
she's his grandmother.
the true American story.
That's right. It happens to us all.
It happens
He's
to us
nearly
all.
murdered by a Pokemon. Thrax is a bad place
He's
for
like,
him to be.
people
Yeah, it's not
see
going
him in the
well.
streets and they're mad at him. They like don't want him around, and he's
Yeah,
just
he's
like,
stressed
fuck,
out.
man,
Yeah.
fuck this shit.
Living
Yeah,
in
who
the
would
middle
have
of
thought?
nowhere isn't as fun as he thought.
Yeah.
Maybe the difference between all those other people that he executed and didn't let go and now is that Syriaca has a tenuous but like somewhat of a connection to the Claw.
Right.
Because she's dressed as this thing and claims to have been from the Pelorines, there is something, it somehow gets to the Claw and the Claw makes him do stuff.
Yeah.
Like when the Claw is on the table, he's like, well, okay, I gotta do that. 'Cause
Yeah.
That, you know.
He feels like the pressure sometimes.
Yeah, he feels it's real to him. The Claw is real to him in a way that other stuff's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they've been sexually involved, and I feel like Severian has like weird tendencies, or I don't know, like tends to like feel protective towards people.
He seems to fall in love with everyone that he becomes intimate with, even
Yeah.
when
As
it's
a
someone
deal.
he rapes,
Yeah.
which
makes
terrible.
sense. Though, if like I am a torturer, part of my torturing is that I rape my clients. The clients are the people I take care of. Like
Right.
that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Creepy.
It's a
Clients.
fucking weird ass
Clients.
psychosis. Yeah.
I also, part of me wants there to be something that Severian sees in the robot story that he doesn't tell us that he sees. Syriaca's whole tale of the robot.
Mhm.
Machines.
Right.
I feel like maybe that changes him, because I mean, he also talks about it a lot during and not mentioning that she was blowing him while she was telling him the story. You know, like. So it seems like that was an intense story.
Yeah. What a way to get new information.
Good story.
Let me tell you about the Passion of Christ.
Close your eyes and think of it.
Oh, he also, when he's like when he's leaving, going through, emptying the cistern or whatever, he says, "I have a word for the sluice gate," and like, so like, he mentions that a lot on Earth too, like having words for different doors and stuff.
Yeah.
Are we talking
open.
like he's saying a word, or is this like a keypad for password, or like?
Oh no, I think it's Alexa, open this door.
Cool. That's what I was hoping it was.
Yeah. That's what I always interpreted as.
Yeah.
That's what I guess.
Like when you talk to the food replicators on the
Yeah. Cool.
That's how.
Because the computers talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the voices at the top of the tower with the guns.
Yeah.
So in chapter 13, Severian is shrunk to the size
Oh, wait.
of a bug.
There's one more thing I want to know at the very end of chapter 12 is that this is such a like per my last email thing where he says like, there was a grill at the bottom, but as I had noted in one of my inspection tours, it was nearly rusted through. Like it's like his last like fuck this job. Look, they didn't even take care of the thing, and now I'm gonna use it to escape. Like,
yeah.
I also feel
For
like
my last email.
I also feel like
That's
that
fucking
evinces
hilarious.
how much he has, unbeknownst to himself, been planning his escape.
oh yeah.
He was like, and of
He
course
knew.
I knew exactly where to go to
Yeah,
sneak
yeah.
out of Thrax.
Totally. That's all. I just wanted to note that. I like it.
Yeah.
We're going into the mountains now.
Into the mountains.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments of New Sun is the moment, the first time that I was reading it, that I realized that we were not using metaphors to describe the mountains.
Oh yeah, with the
They've actually
faces
been
of
carved
the
in.
rulers
All
of
of the
the earth.
mountains
Yeah.
have been carved into giant people, so much so that they just think that mountains are giant statues.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, man, I did not
didn't
pick that up.
That's
Mhm.
cool. That's
Oh
really
yeah,
cool.
he says it
Yeah. They don't even know what a normal mountain
Well, he's like he
when he
woke-
wakes
Oh.
when it's a morning rise,
Yeah.
sunrise.
Speaking
Titan
of-
faces that loomed above me were only those of the long dead rulers of earth, haggard by time, their cheeks fallen away in avalanches.
But that's such a neat thing to come after his like trippy
Starving.
experience with the constellations, because I feel like he gets us. I feel like that constellation bit is such a good like push you in the water of astrology, where you start as a person who doesn't see anything, and then the shapes come, and then you can't get away from them.
Yeah.
And then like that lesson is concluded, and he wakes up, and it's the faces of history now that are doing the exact same thing to him, but like the sun's down and you see the primal animals, and when the sun's up you see the like ancestors.
I want to one quick tangent. We were talking about where the idea of living statues and the statues are alive comes from. The Greeks apparently thought that all statues had some form of life, but Daedalus could make living animated statues. And I think that's where that comes from. The Labyrinth designer guy. I just heard that. I just put that together recently. I remember we asked that question. I wanted to bring it in. Back to the mountains.
Another like great like insight. Like Wolfe has these amazing insights where he talks about like how like no one will on 70 like second to last paragraph.
Oh yeah.
He's like no culture, no matter what I forget, no matter
No
what
doubt
the
everyone
climate,
does.
will consent to sleep in unroofed houses.
Yeah.
The reason being is that looking at the sky will drive you mad. And like he has this idea, like I've only slept outside like without a tent on top of me like maybe like twice in my whole life. And you know, like in a place where you can see the stars, but he describes this like feeling of like freaking out with the stars.
Because you're
above
gonna
him,
like fall off.
fall up, or fall off, which is so interesting and like I don't know, it's a great idea. And then like staring at these constellations and they actually start to like come alive and then play tricks with his head, and he's really freaked out too. Like he's like
well, he's a
like,
city boy.
Did he
Yeah, he's freaking out.
He's a city boy.
It really just
He's
sounds like
tripping out.
Yeah, this chapter is so.
I mean, the
I love
first
this
time,
chapter so
I
much.
think that plays though, you know, you're in the city, it's like light pollution, yada yada. I mean, he's been out before, but never by himself in this kind of way, like out, sleeping outside.
The first
by
time I saw the
himself.
stars in the Southwest, like in New Mexico,
That's
was
what
fucking crazy.
That's what I was
It
gonna
is
say,
kinda
like
crazy.
when you go somewhere that's like extremely low light pollution, like the first time you ever see that Milky Way splatter, your brain melts.
It does.
Yeah.
That is like, you're like, I can see the galaxy right now.
And Severian's
Like,
getting
okay.
Severian's getting it so much more than
Yeah,
we.
totally. I actually think it's inhumane that we can't see the stars very much.
Severian's getting it so much more than we ever would because his sun's so gone.
Yeah.
Like you can see some stars
In the daytime.
during the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's got to be crazy.
So they're even more commonplace in some ways, but then like
And the
he's
moon is
experiencing
green.
on this
And the
whole
moon is
deeper
green.
level.
It's too much to think about. That it's there. That it's there here too. You don't have to go to the desert. It is here too,
Yeah.
but we can't see it.
Yeah.
There's something blocking that
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
I know. It's very upsetting. It's something I think about.
it's why we should start a Patreon to have an initiative where just one night we all agree to not turn on any lights. All the lights in the world should go out one night. We'll call it Dark Night.
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
And we'll dress
Different hemispheres.
and
have
we'll
that
take
different-
rocks, and people that don't turn their lights off will throw little rocks at their
Oh,
lights.
those people should be killed. If you ruin Dark Night, you die.
Uh-huh.
What if you?
Which is always what I've felt about
Like
the
and
Dark Knight. Batman
subscribe. Like and subscribe.
movies. Like and subscribe.
It's canon now. We're killing them.
I mean, if we could pull off raising enough money to get Dark Knight to happen, then I think that we've done something that really is.
Which
something
night?
that that they deserve to die.
It should be Monday.
Then probably,
night, right?
actually, if
Or
we had
Sunday
that
going
much,
into Monday.
if we
Sunday
had
going
that,
into Monday.
if we had
Sunday
that
going
much money, we could probably make one of us be the president. It's gonna take a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
it
then,
costs
like,
a lot to be president.
And then,
A whole
so
lot of
maybe-
spending money.
No, but so then maybe we get one of us as the president,
Uh-huh.
and then you, as the U.S. president, declare
Make
Dark Knight.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, money
Kill
is the
two
easier.
birds with one.
If you gotta
money
have
pot.
either, you know, you need money and you also need charm. But
And you need
charm's
charm.
harder to get than money, really. And we have the charm. I'd rather have to get the money than the charm. So I think it's within our grasp.
Yeah.
Be
To
president.
become
With
president.
charm comes money.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ooh, yes. What if we went as a presidential collective?
Cool.
Tattoo did
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm talking
Wolf pack for
The
president.
Russian pop group
Wow.
ran.
Did they
for-
win?
No.
No. I didn't think so.
They were running against Putin.
Well,
Yeah, well.
The Rude Beasts is good.
The rude
Were you gonna talk about the Rude Beasts?
Weird beast.
Like his instinctive fear of the thought of a cosmos in which rude pictures of beasts and monsters have been painted with flaming
Oh,
sun.
yeah.
I underlined that because I thought it sounded fucking cool.
It is cool.
I also like where he starts thinking about the moon. He's like, I used to want to go there when I was a kid. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Which is weirdly the plot of the book I wrote.
Yeah.
So when I read that, I was like, wait a minute. this just happened in my book.
He becomes the best Severian ever after looking at the stars and like getting it. It's like he has this
Whoa.
incredible like idea of like beneficent
Society.
imaginary
It does.
world.
It does seem
Yeah.
to open him up a lot, at least in this moment, where,
Yeah.
where he's like,
Yeah.
where he's like open, and it, like going back to that like childhood desire to like go to the moon, like have this moment where he's like, oh wow, I see all these animals, and I want to go to the moon. I like shit. I feel like he's kind of getting back to that like the world is my oyster.
It's like the
feeling.
one time.
Totally.
It's the one time he's like been imagining other worlds where he wasn't just imagining the women that lived on those worlds.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wants to bone them.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
He's like, oh, I could
Bone
imagine.
them.
He's like, oh, I could imagine like a whole society.
It's weird.
that works really well and everyone's happy.
He describes these like worlds too as just having like 2 colonists, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
where the whole
Well, that they started with 2
They,
colonies.
well, yeah.
Right.
So they send 2 colonists, and they just begat and begat and begat. You know,
Ah, no,
they have their own little thing, and then they have these societies where everyone works only for honor. You know, like, and I feel like that's such a Wolf/Severian like thing to yearn for is like the world of honor. You
That-
know, like.
And this also
I
reminds me
yearn for it.
of Le Guin because I just started reading
Yeah,
this
I was
collection.
thinking about her during that.
And like the descriptions of like the place where everyone does things because it's like the right thing they should be doing, and there's no like war or money or anything. Like the ones who walk away from Omelos is like that's the setup for that, and then it twists and it's like, oh well, you gotta abuse a child for all of that.
You guys,
Good stuff to happen.
you guys read The Telling yet?
No,
Oh no, I have not.
No.
I don't have it. That's why I started reading all these short stories.
There's
again.
too many
It's like,
books.
wow.
It takes like 2 days to read it. It's like a really easy, just read it.
But one of the things we were thinking about, with the
Side
Patreon, if people gave us money, they could see secret meetings where we talked about stories by Ursula Le Guin.
Yeah.
But they'd be secret, so we wouldn't tell them to you.
Until you gave us money.
Money brings secrets.
That is.
But
true.
I
It's easier to
only
get
want
money
you
than
to
secret.
read
Charm
it
brings
for your
money,
own
money brings
well-being.
Secrets
Yeah, I
bring
do that.
suffering.
It's a really easy short book to read. You can read it in 2 days.
Ursula.
And it was
Yeah.
it was immensely firmer and stronger because I had learned in the intervening time the folly of limiting desire to the possible. It is a true folly.
Mm-hmm.
I-
Yeah, it's diminishing.
I feel like social media is kind of good for this sometimes, is when you see people like doing a really earnest imagination of some way it could be better, and they're almost always like like crushingly realistic. Like you're using your imagination to imagine something good, and you will only allow yourself to imagine something that's like a tick better than what we have and still very annoying.
Right.
Because if you imagine something that's too good, you're a fool. You
Yeah.
know, it's weird.
Well, it has to be realistic,
Yeah.
Like we can't do it now.
We
have to
Incremental
20
change.
years.
We have the ability to
Incremental
picture
change.
anything, but if you picture
Right.
anything, then you're wasting your time.
Right.
You should only use this limitless power to do things that seem like maybe, if we're lucky, they could happen after a lot of work.
Don't stir the pot.
This is my argument against plans and goal-based living.
Oh, that's the Williamson. That was
Yeah,
the whole thing in the
plans.
debate.
Yeah.
It's
It
not
was
about
like
plans.
too many plans.
Well, now, see, I'm not saying we don't make plans.
Yeah.
I'm saying you make a plan, and then as soon as you see that something better can happen, you ditch the plan.
Yeah.
Like,
You roll the punches.
the best thing that can happen is something you can't think of. So anything that you're working towards is not the best thing.
The
that can
plan
The
is to
idea
be
philosophy.
agile.
happen. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the plan is not like this is, and this. I mean, this is why I feel like why every politician will lose to an entertainer or a good storyteller. It's
Yeah.
like this is what we're gonna do, and that's the thing that'll make things better. Is a bad plan. Like we're gonna be ready to deal with shit that comes up. Is a good plan.
Yeah, mistakes are improvement.
Like we'll be agile instead of being fucking like dedicated to a fucking idea. Like the strength is fucking moving with the punches.
A well-executed
Adapted.
plan
Yeah.
is boring and banal, a wet blanket. It will never do anything.
And it'll be interrupted before it even comes to fruition by new emergencies.
That's right.
It's like instead of drawing strength from this thing we're going to achieve, the strength should be our ability to weather what's happening to us now.
Because that's growth.
Yeah, so I mean, if one of you guys wants to be president, you can say that.
No, we're all going to be president.
Well, I think we should keep it a secret that we're all president. I think we should have a front guy.
I think our front guy probably shouldn't be one of us then.
That might be why.
We have to recruit a stooge.
Like
Maybe it's Schwem.
That's not a bad idea. Recruiting a stooge is not a bad idea.
No, it really isn't. I mean, this is how usually it works with
That's what
figurehead.
most politics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like John Bolton and shit. That guy didn't get elected to shit.
It's like Dick Cheney.
Mitt Romney.
Yeah. But I mean, at least got elected.
Kind of.
There's all these security council people. There's the Kushners and
I don't think anybody was voting for Dick. People are voting for George Bush.
No, I know. I'm just saying he at least can say that he has an elected office. Like
Right,
there's all
right,
these
right.
people who are like appointees.
Yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
coattail riders.
Yeah,
So
one of
recently,
one of us will
I
run
mean,
the
Cheney was
EPA,
one of
one
those
will
for much longer than we've been alive.
That's true.
Also, this chapter is so full of like amazing descriptions, like him like going down the cliff side, like and just like he's oh, man. So it's,
Yeah, that's
it's,
a really
it's amazing
really
'cause
cool
it's such a mashup of stuff that he's
part.
like walking past. I like honestly like look up like Max Ernst paintings. Like I feel like Wolfe was like looking at these paintings. Like everything is mashed into this cliffside. There's like bones. There's like metal sticking out. At one point, there's like a whole like enormous like mosaic thing going on. That he
Yeah,
did.
that's really. I feel like a super important
Yeah.
metaphor there.
Yeah.
Well,
Like the way a bug looks at a painting.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's what we see of everything.
Yeah.
That like the little man crawling down and seeing all. He talks about how like he sees the animals and stuff, but he gets the sense
Mhm.
they have nothing to do with what this image is.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. It's just this huge thing, and I wish he could describe it better.
Yeah.
What are you looking at right now?
There's no way for him to get far enough away and still be able to see it.
That you know what that made me think of? The Nazca lines. It's not the same thing at all, but or just crop circles or whatever. Like the
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like large.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't discovered for a
Phenomena.
long time, right? Because no one had the ability to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only see it from way up.
Not until the French made hot air balloons.
The French did that.
They did.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, his
French.
brothers. I took
Lay right?
a weird gifted class on hot air balloons in elementary school.
That's awesome.
That's like one of the coolest.
What also is fucking cool as shit is a completely natural thing he does with the river. Like the mountains that have been all carved in this giant mosaic are like mind-boggling. And then his look at the river is just as mind-boggling. And he talks about how he can see this river like moving in the distance from his height, and he's wondering, as he's sure people have forever, like how does it get bigger even though there's no more things feeding into it?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was before the wall. That's before the
before
wall.
the
He's
cliff.
not seeing that from the wall. He followed the river to the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But not that matters that much.
Right, yeah, he's like the
But he's
thing
not
that-
like overlooking the river from the cliff.
No, but he's got a long view of the river.
Yeah.
Like he's able to see it.
walking
along
along.
it.
He's like able to see it.
I wouldn't say Montpellier, but just a place.
And it's not feeding into
Yeah.
anywhere, but it's getting
It's
wider.
getting bigger because
Yeah.
water does that weird
Underground
shit.
springs, I mean.
Yeah, you can't. It's not immediately like coherent.
And then he almost
how
just jumps
rivers
off the
move.
cliff.
I have an archaeological problem with this book, I think.
Neat.
Did like the sequence of the layers?
How many artifacts there are, like how many fossils and whatnot people are finding, like because it gives me this impression that Gene Wolfe feels like the more people are here, the more artifacts build up, but preservation is really delicate, so most things are in fact destroyed, and like the things that we make are getting destroyed much faster than the things that ancient people made. So like
Landfills, I think landfills, dumps. I think that's what's getting mined.
Also, like, if you're in South America, parts of South America, they built things really well, and like there was a really dense civilization there, and when you walk around, you're just constantly running into like ruined temples and stuff. Like they're everywhere. They built little temples everywhere.
right, but I feel like Gene Wolfe is implying that they're finding stuff from now.
Right.
We don't build things like that or anything.
Maybe. Well, Gene Wolfe as an engineer, maybe.
That's what I'm
has some
saying.
ideas
I
about
think
how stuff should be made.
I mean,
Well,
Oh,
but
I think that he has
also-
some ideas about how time works, that we are moving in a progression,
Also,
more so than we are.
Right.
if this is the far future, right? So you have like the space traveling age
Mhm.
is between now and then. So like there's a lot of other human civilization that's happened after us too,
Mhm.
and we don't really know what their style of that would
Their
be.
spaceships are still up.
Also,
Except that they're probably majorly overpopulated.
I mean, it seems like things like plastics and
yeah, I was
everything
gonna
are really
ask. Isn't
like
plastic forever?
really gonna,
Jellyfishy.
plastic breakdown eventually.
And sun breaks at that. It instead of oxidizing it, blah blah blah. It breaks down in sunlight.
But there's less sun.
There is.
Yeah, it's like
and a lot of this stuff is been
Buried.
underground for a long
I
time.
feel like steel beams are what's gonna really last.
No way, those are melted by jet fuel.
And well, I think
they run.
those will eventually oxidize
Okay.
into.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
just kind of breaks
On
down.
what? A nail?
Yes.
Oh, the nail upstairs.
What happened?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It got my foot real good.
Oh.
Oh no!
So I'm gonna go have it looked at.
Oh
I
shit!
don't think I have any band-aids. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have a Band-Aid.
But assuming it's in the nail, probably might want to get a shot.
Do you want a Band-Aid? Because I have one.
not
Yeah,
up
love
on
one.
not up on your shots. You don't need one every time you get it. You just have
I mean, I sliced it
to
real
be
good.
up on it.
It's like 7 years between tetanus shots, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Wow, you got a bunch of
Okay.
options, big boy. The nail.
What do you probably
I don't know how
It
that
is a
helps.
bad-
If they all have tetanus, or if it's
That's
like
not-
ticks, where some of them have Lyme disease and
Yeah,
some
let me
don't.
think that it
I
down.
don't think no, definitely they don't all have tetanus.
Was it like one of those like carpet nails that stick out from the side of the wall?
And that's one of the nails in the floor for the floorboards.
It's like a nail that you know about but you haven't pulled out.
No, it's a nail that I fix and then it becomes unfixed regularly because it's just an ancient board. So like, I
It will
need to
lift
put a
back,
whole
yeah.
new nail in and take that out.
Yes.
But
Take 5
I
no,
haven't done that.
I have your bookcase. I can drop it off tomorrow.
Okay.
But love you all.
Cool.
Bye.
Good luck.
Alright.
Bye.
Good luck.
Don't get tetanus.
Enjoy your foot.
Enjoy your foot.
Ah,
All right.
down one.
Wasn't your nail.
No, for her, like that was bad, and she feels bad. You can watch me say that later.
you think that she'll catch up? She'll watch the rest of this episode?
Might.
All right.
I watched
Most
one
people
of ours.
do.
We should demand that she does. Wait, do y'all rewatch these episodes?
I watched one.
I think I rewatched
I've
the
never
very
seen them.
first one, and
Yeah.
then I've never rewatched.
I watched the
I've never
first
watched
one a
it.
few weeks ago.
I just keep hearing more and more about other people watching it.
You do.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should talk about the book
it
then.
more and more.
Tim Cabero watches it.
Do you
No.
know?
Hi, Tim.
Hi,
No.
Tim.
Because
way.
he says that he puts it on while he's grading stuff because it feels like his
No
friends are
way.
hanging out.
That's so cute.
That's awesome.
That is nice.
I love Tim.
Oh, I listened
even know him,
to
but I appreciate
Alzado
that.
Soup. I think it's pretty good.
I've been listening to
I'd
it.
say.
I think maybe they only annoyed me.
I think they have a great
You poisoned
dynamic.
the well.
Like, there's one guy who's like, I don't know, like, who thinks that Severian's kind of a dick the whole time, and the other guy who's like a little bit more like less so like that. But and I feel like they're reading it together and discussing it very cogently and like very like different than us. Like they're very
Yes.
like one step at a time, but like analyzing each with a good dynamic between them. I find it a good listen.
Yeah, I like it. I like because it feels like a refresher of like, okay, that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, like that's
Yeah.
cool. Like it definitely is a different approach.
They're a little more focused
And
on what happens
What actually
and not what it
happens.
means.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it's just that what happens. The plot of this book is not the point.
But
to
it's
me.
like
They don't not analyze the book though. They analyze it plenty.
Definitely.
Right, but I
They're-
think that's it. I mean, I haven't listened to the whole thing, but
Yeah.
to me, I feel like they end up analyzing the book because it's impossible not to, and that's not what they want to do. And every once in a while, they're like, "Oh, but we're not talking about that.
well, that's true. I think
That's too interesting.
what I
Let's just say what we read."
I'm too compelled right now. I
They do
just have
they
to
do
take a
stick to
breather.
the text.
I
Yeah.
don't
Stick to that.
necessarily think that they are like there's no value in analyzing anything else.
Right.
I think they're like this is what everyone focuses on.
Right.
Let's just like look at what the actual text
Right, and they're
what
Yeah.
it's laying out.
talking
And I
about
think
that
that's
is
characters, character motivations, like that I find like
Yeah.
good, like very close reading, you know. But yeah, not going outside of the text too much. But they are like analyzing and having thoughts about like what's happening.
What kind of
Yeah.
stuff? Like, how do they section it out?
It's like basically like paragraph by paragraph. Like
they do 2 chapters an episode.
oh yeah, and
Is
like
it 2 chapters?
yeah,
so.
I think like 2. Yeah, I've
And
only
it's
They,
like
and
an
they
hour.
don't they don't do
It's like
they don't
40
like
minutes.
consider each one as what are there spoilers, or do they just approach
I
it?
think they mostly stick with. I haven't listened to too much, honestly, but the ones that I've listened to, I think they just are doing it like one step at a time.
They mostly
might
stick
step out
to
of
the
it.
text, but if there's something relevant that they think they need to talk about, they do mention it.
They might
But
step,
they don't.
step forward.
I think they try to keep it. That's their focus. But
Yeah, so that you
That's cool.
linearly listen and read along with them in like some sort of weird dork world where everything works out. Like you like read a chapter and then listen
Right.
to talk about it and then read a chapter.
Okay. I mean, I'm not down on any of it. I just haven't listened to it.
It's good.
It's nice to have on at work.
Whenever-
Doing
whenever
a
I see-
repetitive thing.
I
listen
can't put
to
it on
at
at work
and I think that's
because-
part of why I don't like it because I was cleaning rich people's houses.
I can't put it on at work because I always am in a van with one other person, and those people have never read these,
Right.
Yeah.
and that would not be.
And that's
fun.
It would not. It would
They
be
don't
not
want to listen
fair.
to
It
a
also-
podcast about GMO.
Listening to it at work caused me to be screaming swear words potentially in front of clients all the time.
Oh.
I just can
Because
always.
you're just mad about what they were saying.
I would get as worked up as I get when I watch Bill O'Reilly.
I want to listen
I
to
love
it.
that.
I want to listen to it. I
It's
just
not that bad. Come on.
Yeah.
I only listen to podcasts at work, and then that's
I
the
see.
context. Because I drive a lot for work.
Podcasts are hard to listen to. I don't really go.
I
for it.
like them when I'm driving at work. It's like
That's the
great
only
for-
time.
It's so
if
great for
I'm
that.
like alone and driving, which happens very rarely, that's when I listen to podcasts. And it just
I make other people listen to my podcast, but I listen to very good podcasts.
Cool.
So that's okay.
Some are more accessible than others.
Yeah.
Have you listened to Emma's?
No.
I listened to one. It's funny.
Let's do it.
You make that, right? You made
No,
the music or
no,
something?
her cat's making it.
Oh, okay. The cats.
I do feel like that sometimes it seems that one of those cats may have listened to some records I made a long time ago. But it is. I don't actually do
There's the
it.
cat.
Should we talk about Kazdo's house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kazdo.
Oh wait, real quick. Okay, he also describes the way that like the Earth's core is like cooling.
Yeah.
And that's like also causing like geographical changes in the world. And, like, like the
Yeah, like
mountains
tectonic.
are, like-
It sounds like plates are shifting, and like that's why you've got these like this mountainside just like broke away.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah.
just cool. He refers to like the one mountain and its mating half like falling away.
Right.
Like,
And now there's this like big valley
Like
or big like
tectonics.
open.
yeah. Just
Cool.
mountains just splitting in half.
The widow.
The widow.
The widow's house.
The widow
Interesting. I
Kazdo.
never really
I love-
thought about how the chapter's called The Widow's House. And
Oh,
then there's
yeah.
in question later if the husband
Yes.
is actually coming back. Or not.
Also, sorry, I know trying to move forward. Why is the one chapter called "He is behind you"? Has that chapter happened yet?
He is ahead of
He's
you.
ahead of you.
That's
That's
after
after
this
this one. Okay, so we can talk about that when we get to that.
I really like the section where he's talking about kind of like almost finding enlightenment in nature, but then
It's
coming
shattered by
across
the appearance of
barking
humans
of a dog. Yeah.
and his horrible fucking relationship with human beings.
I was just thinking that that's like when you're tripping on mushrooms in the woods, and then the first time you see like a person after that, and you're just like, oh.
The dogs does seem to be kind of like a psychopomp, like a mediator, in that he's in this like really in tune to the earth mode, and then it's like a domesticated animal begins his transition back into people.
Right, leads him back to people.
Yeah,
Dog is a major psychopomp animal.
yeah, it's doing its thing quite literally here. I feel like shows him where the house is, allows him to be there by not attacking him. You know, responding well to his.
Just like he began with the declaration of war, which he rescinded as soon as I spoke to him.
Yeah.
So like the dog just like barked at him. He was like, "No, dog," and then the dog was like, "All right, we're
Well,
cool."
it's just like
As
how
a person who goes into a lot of houses where there are dogs
That's how
that
most
don't
dogs
know me.
are. Yeah.
Like, as soon as you give them a little treat or let them smell your hand, they're like, okay, not
We're
a burglar.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Did an
funny.
ocular pat down, threat assessment. This one's okay.
You know?
Like the RoboCop, like,
Yeah. Dog's like nice, soft hands, kind voice. All right, you're in.
Soft hands.
It's a domestic dog.
Man,
Yeah.
I watched RoboCop recently.
oh, you
Nice.
did? You finally saw it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny because we were watching
Highly
Terminator
rated.
a little bit
It's
last.
so good.
Right,
I
wait,
actually
right. That
recently
you caused
had that
our
conversation too.
gigantic reaction.
So I
We're
wanna
like,
watch it
oh my
again.
god, you hadn't seen RoboCop.
Yeah, and then I watched it, and I was very happy that I watched it.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was
It's
a very-
really good.
Oh.
It's so good.
I saw Starship Troopers for the first time.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the next one on my list.
That's-
But you haven't seen Starship Troopers? Holy fuck!
we already had this
Yeah, I think we
conversation.
did too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
why
have
I
it again
watched
and
it.
I'll enjoy it then too.
It's so good. That era of what's his name?
Verhoeven?
Who's the director?
Verhoeven.
Yeah. Those like the Verhoeven, like that and
Totally.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
I think is like the perfect like Verhoeven trilogy.
I want to watch you try to watch The Fourth Man,
What's that?
Okay.
which is the Verhoeven's like he's still a Dutch movie.
Oh.
I haven't watched it, but like Dina and Mason and them tried to watch it one time, and like they turned it off half an hour in because there had already been 5 rapes
Oh
that they
God.
couldn't deal with, kind of thing.
Well, I don't want to watch. that.
Okay, what do we want to say about Kazdo's house?
She is beautiful.
Oh, you know, sometime between the last meeting and this meeting, Vysotsky was texting me about Fetchin the painter, and he was like,
Ah.
what do you think is the deal?
Mm-hmm. Where is Fetchin
Oh, yeah, what
mentioned
is it?
before?
He came up with the
Yeah.
Rudison.
Dudson,
yeah Rudison.
Okay.
He said he sat for.
We have a fetch in here.
Yeah, there was.
Oh
a,
yeah.
A
So they
portrait of a
describe.
kid. Yeah.
Oh, I did read a thing on somebody's thing on the internet that someone's theory was that Rudison was Fetchin.
I mean,
I
he's
saw
Because it's
certainly
this whole
obsessed
thing
with
about
Fetchin.
he's like Fetchin drew
I
my
saw that.
picture or whatever, but then it, all these references to him
Fetchin doing
making
self-portraits.
self-portraits.
Oh, interesting.
And it's like-
Possible.
Yeah.
It's possible, but it's like why?
And it's also Fetchin's drawing is like of him with a paintbrush. Anyway.
And this old man just has to compulsively talk about fetching.
Yeah.
He can't.
He was his brother, right?
Rudison?
Friend? No, the
Like
old
the
man.
old
oh.
It was like a
Is that-
neighbor.
oh,
Yeah, it was
neighbor?
he knew him
They
when
were
he
in
was
school.
young.
I thought they were brothers.
And he was outside the house when fetching got laid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that part was awesome.
Yeah.
It made me think of Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah. He was just around for a wonderful moment in history when Fetching got laid.
Oh no, I was thinking about the beginning of Forrest Gump
Oh.
when his mom fucks his principal to let him stay in normal school. And then the principal comes out of the house and is like, your mom really cares about your education, and he just makes the sounds that his mom was making during sex to the principal, so the principal runs away. It's one of the best parts of Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
We all misspeak sometimes.
Maybe you saw a better version of the movie.
Maybe I did. I read the book.
Severian's
Does anyone have anything to say about
Severian's attitude is weird. Like how he presents himself to this woman. Like he's very careful. I feel like at first he's trying to present himself as just like, I'm a nice guy. I just want some water. But he's also like kind of scheming the whole time too, as we'll find out like a little bit later. But anyway, like she's like, so do you always shave your face with your sword? And he's like, yeah.
It makes me strong.
Yeah, it makes me
Oh
strong.
yeah, he says like,
She's
I'm a butcher
so
of
she's
men.
like, oh, so you're a soldier? No, I am a butcher of men.
Yeah.
Okay, like weird flex, but all right.
Then she said, I didn't mean to insult you.
Yeah.
By calling you a soldier and not a butcher.
And then he has this and then he has this douchey moment where he's like, I'm not insulted. Everyone kills certain things. You killed those roots in your kettle when you put them in your boiling water, which reminds me of so many times when I tell people like
Totally.
I'm vegan and
Totally.
they're like, but you eat broccoli, don't you? The broccoli, you killed that broccoli. Yeah, that's the same
Right.
thing as factory farming.
Well, it's weird
exactly.
that he's inflating himself as a torturer and an executioner, but he has just left that. Like he's literally just gotten out of that, and is now just like.
He's back. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you
He's
still
like,
gotta tell people like, yeah, that's what I am. I totally abandoned that job and all of my responsibilities, but that's what I do, and I'm really good at it, and it's a good thing I do.
And who are you to judge me?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. He's forsaken being a torturer, but at the first opportunity, he's like, I'm a torturer.
And then he asks, "What does your husband do?" And she says, "Everything."
He does everything.
A man has to do everything up here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she kind of smiles then, too. You know what she's thinking about.
Why do you think her kid's name is Severian?
Good
Oh
question.
yeah.
Oh, I read something about this once that I don't remember.
Like, it doesn't
The
seem
first, the first thought is, or is it somehow some sort of time loop? Is it
like
Severian? But
right.
that's-
It doesn't seem to
Don't
be.
know.
Good point. Yeah.
I think I read about it in a thing that's arguing that Severian is a twin because little Severian had a sister named Severa, so we can assume that there's a Severa for Severian out there someplace in the Witch's Tower.
They're implying that it's like a naming convention in the
Oh.
world to have boy and girl names like Agia and Agilis.
Like he introduces himself as somebody to some point, and they're like, "Oh, you have a twin name."
Oh,
Hmm.
Ah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
Thea and Thecla kind of like that.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean,
Are they twins?
Yeah.
They
there's
keep
a
saying
sister.
Aji and Agilis.
Yeah, but
They've
though.
called them
Right.
half sisters.
Half.
Has been mentioned.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe since that. I don't know, it is a similar.
They have
Yeah.
different shaped faces. Like they're
Right. Yeah. They.
Should
Yeah.
have
They don't.
differences
I guess they're not twins. That's interesting. The book the Sorcerer's House, the book that I read recently, has a lot of twins in it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like most of the characters are twins.
Do we know any twins?
Yes.
Who?
Oh well.
I know a lot.
Do we
I
all
know.
have to know the twin I'm talking about?
Well, Molly's brother is a twin, right?
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Molly
Molly and
Margulis?
and Jared.
Oh.
They're twins, aren't they?
With each other.
Are
I guess so. I mean,
they?
yeah.
Are they?
They're about the same.
Also, another Lagoon touch point where they played the same character in Left Hand of Darkness.
That's right.
Whoa. Whoa.
There's a lot of twins in my family.
Really? But not you.
Yeah, I know. I seem to know some people who have a twin, but I don't know too many like twins now. You know, like I'll know one
I have a
person who
good
has a
friend
twin.
who's a twin.
Yeah.
John Kern.
Where's the twin? Also round?
I think he's
There's
moving
the-
back here.
Actually,
Madison's
Madison's best
So-
friends are twins.
They're
They
twins.
grew up together and everything.
And then they went their separate ways.
Yeah,
They
but
just
they're
stick
tight.
together.
They hang. I mean, it's yeah.
It's the weirdest relationship that I think is possible between two people.
I
Just
don't,
siblings makes no
I
sense
don't,
to
I
me.
don't really intend to have kids, but I have always thought if I ever did have kids that I would want to have twins.
Another Le Guin point, another story I just read yesterday is about clone families that are they like go on these engineering missions together, and they're like work in perfect harmony because they're all clones of the same person. So they're like kind of brother and sister, but they're also kind of just themselves
Right.
all the time. And then like there's an accident, and one of them experiences the deaths of his 9 clone siblings, all like at once, and then but he survives and like pushed through it, which is really weird. But it seemed like there was this twin, sort of twin to the 10th degree, sort of with this, where they're just like kind of constantly understanding each other without necessarily having to communicate about it, which is definitely not how siblings work normally.
You don't have a twin language with your non-twin sibling?
I don't. I mean, I have a good relationship with my non-twin siblings, but I don't think I'll experience their deaths.
Oh.
Makes sense.
Well, this Severian is to die not too long from now. The little Severian.
That scene
Right.
is so fucking insane, too.
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
think
he
about
doesn't.
that one all the time,
He doesn't.
too.
I mean, I don't recall exactly, but I don't think Severian like feels that too close. He's sad about it, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think he like mourns it too hard.
It's
Well,
such a sad
Severian
scene.
doesn't
Do you
feel human
think
emotions.
the fact that his name is Severian is the reason that he decides to take him with him instead of just like killing him or whatever? Because he didn't give a shit about him.
I don't know. We
He,
gotta
like-
we gotta cross that path.
He kind of barely gives a shit about the kid, but there's like
This
some
kid's just
reason-
me. That's why I like him.
There's some
Yeah.
reason that he does a little bit.
Yeah, it's possible.
God,
Do you
Severian
think
raising
maybe
a
he
child
has
seems
like
terrible.
he could have like a special because of the way that he grew up, maybe like a special affinity to like take on a small child or something, like a lost kid, perhaps.
I think so. Yeah.
Really? It's weird. It's just that's so weird. This little Severian kid is just.
It's a
fucking
weird. It's a
Well,
weird
let's
detail.
talk about it when we get to it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, we're kind of there.
Well, I guess,
We're
but I guess
almost,
I
but we got 2 more chapters.
Yeah. They
So,
haven't even talked about how.
As soon as Kazdo leaves the house, Severian turns to the boy and he's like, "Oh, so your sister's in the house somewhere. Fetch her for me." Immediately, as soon as she leaves, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't think it's Ajia.
No.
He just thinks it's some woman that he can like.
He's like, maybe there's a cute lady here.
That's exactly
He
what he
thinks
thinks.
they're hiding this sister that he had asked earlier, did you see her?
Right. Yeah.
Which makes absolutely complete fucking sense because she's not been to the house in
He's
a
a
while.
fucking
Yeah.
predator.
And
Yeah.
like, so it's very. This is one of the times I feel like where it's very easy to see what Severian doesn't see.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're watching him bumble in a way that usually it's like like usually it's a slightly more of a puzzle what the fuck is going on, whereas it is very clear from the very beginning that he has totally misread what that girl's name he heard means.
I just think he thinks it's some young woman hiding
Yeah.
upstairs. Yeah.
His major weakness is sex.
Yeah.
And if they're hiding
in that
her,
case,
there's
but-
a reason.
But
so I
if
gotta see
Severian
it.
and Severa are twin names, he seems to be assuming that Severa is like a grown woman.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
It does.
I don't know.
Don't
Maybe
matter.
Severian just doesn't understand that that's how the naming convention works.
Maybe.
I think some of it might just be that he doesn't want something. He thinks if someone's trying to pull a fast one on him, that he's not going to let that happen. It might not necessarily be that he thinks he's
be.
going to fuck the person that's up.
Right. I guess he knows something's weird.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and
something's
now
not
the
right,
balance of
just like-
power is such that he's the strongest person in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
He's like, well, out with it.
And he likes bossing people around, I think.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So gets her. It's Ajia, who's been hiding there. It does all seem a little
Oh.
bit coincidental.
I want to go back to fetching though.
Okay.
Yeah. There's this.
Because
bit
it
where
does say this
Yeah,
thing about
okay,
him having the face of a monkey,
Uh-huh.
and isn't that a father and Nire thing?
yeah.
And like, Do we think that Fetchin is Father Nero? Just a
He
question.
has red hair on his
It's just a question.
hands and his arms.
Fetchin does?
Yeah.
Yep.
It sounds like Father Anire.
But he's a tall, wild boy.
Well, when he
Father
was
Nero.
younger, I mean, you know,
Possible.
people who are old
Right.
Well,
shrink.
Father Anire is, I don't know, he doesn't get old, right? He's not human.
How old is he?
Oh, right, that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, also, I don't know, who's to say he can't shape shift? I don't really know.
Yeah, just because he's not human now doesn't mean that he wasn't.
I mean, he
human
also
before at
is
some point.
vizier to the autarch, although I feel like he wouldn't be going around podunk ruralania, hanging out and painting.
Who knows what he does? The Autarch does all kinds of weird shit.
I'm just saying that it doesn't hold water to me right now.
Okay.
Then why tell us that he's like a monkey?
It seems
Because I don't
feel
think
like
that
it's
all
significant?
monkey things mean
Is
Father
there
Nero.
another piece to it?
They just talk about Fetchin a lot.
They do.
It's true.
They
like,
talk
when
about him
Nick,
twice.
And when Nick was like, yeah, in totally weird random times by random old men.
Yeah.
It's like a thing that old men obsess over. Really old men. It's just like a curious thing. Whether or not
Yeah.
Father Anire has anything to do with it, it's a curious thing.
I think Father Anire can have something to do with it. I just don't think that Father Anire was Fetchin. I think Fetchin was.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. But I think
No,
there's
yeah,
something
yeah.
going on. Why bring this guy up more than once?
Right. That's
Period.
true.
Even if it's
I
just
think
twice.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why bring him up
They're
twice?
saying his face wasn't a monkey's face at all. So just his arms that were monkey-like.
We don't have
But
much
that's
more.
implying that other
He was-
people.
He was the handsomest
Think of it.
around.
Like monkey's arms. Yeah.
Well, maybe becoming a Father Anire, pushes you closer to the monkey within. Like his latent monkeyness is brought out by something. The monkey thing is, it's hard not to keep a list of who's like a monkey, and so far it's a short list.
Yeah.
His
It is.
name means raven.
It is odd that he goes into these paragraphs here describing Fetchin for sure. Like,
Ravens steal stuff, don't they?
I don't.
Well, they're smart.
I
Yeah,
don't-
They
yeah.
take things.
I don't know what
And
the
the thing about
significance
the
of it is.
girl,
He's taking stuff.
the drawing of the girl.
Yeah.
He gets half a sheet of paper, and he does the girl on one side and the guy who gave him the paper on the other
Yeah.
side.
And then he keeps it.
He really gets everything,
Yeah.
and there's no real exchange. Fetchin
Yeah.
doesn't give anything.
Yeah, like he makes the drawings and then he gets a loaf of bread and some fruit out of it, but he also keeps the drawing.
I mean, I think,
But the
you know,
person needs
it's
to be
also
monkey.
possible
Right.
that his face is like a monkey, but it's like when you know him and you're charmed by him, you think that he's handsome, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a charming character,
So you could get anything you wanted from women.
you can overcome a monkey face.
You can overcome them.
I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird. It's like 2 whole pages almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the second
Uh-huh.
time.
Then this old man doesn't do anything else. The old man, right? He just
Yeah, and Rudison shows up not that much either.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, Rudison at least.
And they're both very old men.
Was Rudison described with was his hair described?
I can't remember, but
Does he have red hair?
Rudison is like not like that's kind of could be also like a
Ruddy.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was trying to. I think
It
I
could
always
be a
pictured him
nickname.
with like kind of reddish hair, but I don't know if that's actually
Yeah.
in the
It
text.
could be a nickname because of his hair.
Yeah.
Or something.
anyway.
He could have forgotten like his
Maybe we
fashion.
can think about this more later. I just feel like that's like sticks,
Oh, maybe it'll come up
sticks
again.
in my craw.
I think I don't
That
think
really
it's-
sticks in my craw.
I don't think it's insignificant.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe there's just like a thing that everyone who is monkey like points to something, or like we should think of them together for some reason, but maybe they're not
The
necessarily
monkey
the same
is like a trickster character symbol.
And
Something else.
Thoth writing.
Yeah.
Thoth is a baboon.
Right.
The ape
Uh,
of Thoth.
China has the Monkey King is a big trickster god for that.
Yeah.
He can take a hair out of his leg and then turn it into another one of him. And he can make an army that way.
The Sun Wukong does that?
Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty cool. I hadn't heard that one.
So are we talking about the El Zabo?
Like, Asagia shows up.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything...
Oh, I thought that was interesting how she said his name isn't really Heather.
Yeah. It's David.
Exactly.
We
Or
learned
something
about...
Korean.
We learn
it's
about
young.
we learn about some of the beasts. We learned that he was the old guy
Oh yeah,
that
he's the old
that
Slayer.
Agia had rebuffed. Let's see.
All revelations that surely Dorcas either told him outright or
Totally.
led him to figure out.
Totally.
Right.
There's no way he came up with
Yeah,
this shit on his
this
own.
is this is exactly like when Dorcas explains things to him the way he's explaining
Well, right,
to
because
Agia.
she said a bunch of stuff about Heather to him, and I don't think he probably recounted all that. And then now he's like, and I knew that.
Yeah.
So he's saying that he would have stayed away because he was afraid that Jonas would rat him out as a fellow sailor.
Yeah.
And then Heather knows that he is the new son,
I think
right?
so.
The way he talks to him.
I mean, and worship.
Heather knows that he's the new
So
son.
are we taking his worship of Severian to be earnest?
I don't think so.
Because if
I mean,
he's
it's
because if
interesting
he's
'cause
trying
he
to kill
is trying to kill him.
Severian,
Trying to kill him.
I mean, unless he thinks that he's like fulfilling some, he's like a Judas figure where he's like.
I think
Well,
it's
I
that
think
to a
he's
point.
in love with Agia, and I think because he's a lonely old sailor man, and this is like the one way he can kind of wield power in his world, and then he maybe just figures like, well, if he's gonna be the new son, he's gonna be the new son. It doesn't really matter what I do.
Yeah, I think that there's this element of like when all of the Aesir found out that Baldur couldn't be killed, they were like, well, let's start throwing everything at him. Let's
Right.
just really start to look. It doesn't work. I think that there's an element of like, oh, I know that this is God. And keep testing him because
It also makes
it's
his
amazing
role
to watch.
It makes his role more important if he's killing a god and not just like the guy that the girl he wants to bone doesn't like.
Well, and there's no risk if you know you're going to fail. Like that. That's kind of the weird thing about killing.
You know a
Is
lot
that-
about killing.
Is that the risk is if you do it. There's no if you fail at doing it, then you haven't killed. So like things are okay. But if you've killed, well now you've killed somebody, so you're fucked.
Also, obsessive fans, will oftentimes try to kill,
Right.
the object of their
Well, and I guess there would have been no way for Gene to have tapped into this because I don't even think they discovered the scrolls until the last 20 years. But like the Gospel of Judas was something that was sort of a more recent Gnostic gospel that was found, where it's essentially this. I don't know, it's a very Gnostic vibe where Jesus is basically like, I have to die. Like, I have to shuck this body, and Judas, you get to do it, and that makes you the most important one. And here, like, obviously, Severian's not cognizant of any of this shit. But yeah, he doesn't understand what's going on with any of it. But maybe Hethor sees himself in this kind of capacity of like, I worship you, and perhaps like your death is playing an important role in this cycle of creating the new sun.
But why do we think Hethor or Heather, however you say it, thinks or knows that Severian's the new son? Like, do we have clues?
He
about
just says shit to him, and whenever he's with him, the way he
He's
talks
so
to
simpering and worshipful.
him, the way
Yeah,
he
like-
addresses him is like
it? Uh-huh.
the way, like
Reverent.
he kind of says things to him that are like the things people say about the autarch, like.
Right.
Well, I also, and I mean, I'm colored by Severian's ideas
And he comes
about
from the
Hathor
future.
on this, but like, I think that Hathor also does get off on Severian being a torture and execution.
Right.
I think
Seems like,
he
yeah.
admires that to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though it could
But
be his
I
contact
do
with
feel like
Severian
I
when he
do
was
feel
young.
like there's things that he says that are like
How would Hathor
feel like
Hathor
have
know?
felt like to
'Cause he's a
he's
Saiyan.
from the future.
But did
Maybe-
Jonas know?
Don't know.
Maybe that's why Hathor feels so strong. Like maybe that's why he feels okay about playing this executioner or attempting to execute Severian, because he sees Severian's role as doing. I don't know. Like maybe he's getting to do something for Severian. Severian does for everyone else.
Wait. So to go back. So Hathor is from the future. And,
I don't know about that.
okay.
Hathor has spent a lot of time outside of time.
Outside
Right,
time,
right.
right? So he's seen. Maybe he's been on Earth at a future point and
It's fair to
seen
say
Severian.
he's existed
Is there a
always.
possibility he's trying
Didn't
to
we also
assassinate
have
him?
didn't
He
we
saw
also
Severian on
have a
the ship.
theory that young Hether met Severian on the ship?
That's my theory. I don't have all the facts to it yet. I'll be gathering them upon our next reading here.
Yeah.
That's a
But
good thing to
that
keep
is
in
a
mind
thing
as we
that I
go
suspect.
forward.
That's something that we talked about before.
Yeah.
And in
Oh,
that scenario where it's funny because you have kind of like in relative terms it's like old Severian and young Hether, and then you get young Severian and old Hether.
And that's what I'm saying is that I think that Hether has seen Severians survive and succeed. So like he could try to kill him as much as he wants. He knows that it doesn't matter. He knows.
But I do feel like there are points earlier on where maybe even when he first, not when he first meets him in like the alleyway or whatever, but when they meet up by the camp,
Yeah.
that I in my mind, like some of the things that he said were like pretty unmistakable
Yeah.
that he knows that. But
Is-
I mean,
If a young Hathor met Severian, then is their relationship kind of like a weird, twisted mirror of Vodalis and Severian? Like, does Hathor have some kind of like formative experience that Severian doesn't really like register?
could be for sure.
And that it creates this like weird fanboy.
Psychic.
I mean, I guess that's exactly what I'll be looking for. in
Right, if that's the
Earth.
case, yeah.
Like that is
I
exactly
can't wait
the
to
moment
read
that I
Earth
was
again,
looking
man.
for.
That would I feel like it would make
I-
sense.
Having
Find
just
it
read
in
it,
for.
I'm excited for us to read it again because maybe I'll understand what the fuck. Better
Yeah.
chances
I'm excited to
then.
read it too.
It's pretty wild.
You know, I'm going to the beach soon, and I was gonna take some totally unrelated books, but now I kind of feel like maybe I should, because I don't want to be like working.
Right.
Right.
But now I feel like maybe I'll actually take them and just
Just read
read
it.
them.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I keep being, I'm
Yeah.
still jealous of Jordan.
Was it good though?
So maybe if I have like a week to read, I can like get far enough ahead where it won't be that weird thing where you're thinking about the thing that happens just after the thing.
Yeah, you need a
You
little
gotta-
bit of distance.
Yeah, maybe I could get like
a couple books.
Just plow through it. Yeah.
Because now,
so I
like,
run that by you guys.
I realized I
just
was
thought about it.
reading this less than a year ago. Like about a year ago, I was reading what we were reading right now. So it's still like super fresh.
Man, it's all old to me now.
It's cool.
It's too
I'm
long.
really happy
Too
that I
long
did it
since
that
the
way.
last one.
Shall we get to the Alzabo here?
The big
Soup.
I would
finish.
never.
This is our last one that we read this time.
This is
Yeah.
one of the
Really?
most compelling chapters. I feel like when
It
I
depends on who I
envision like the TV show of this, I always
Right.
picture
Who you
this
want to
scene
find.
as like being like a good scene in that show. Like if there's
The
like
action
turned into a
scene.
movie scene. Yeah, like I always feel like this is like one of the one of the more like suspenseful like chapters.
It's definitely really it's got like affecting. Yeah, I don't know, just
I
like
love-
just the thought of seeing this like sort of demon creature that's speaking with like both speaking with the voices and with the sort of like awareness of these people.
I like
You know what it is? You know what it is? Severian is being attacked by memory.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like how they talk through the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like talking to each other the whole time. They're kind of fighting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's like a psychology game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yosabo is very reasonable. Let's go Wolf first.
Yalzabo is weird. Like, it's weird. So I thought in my previous 2 readings of this book that it was like a parrot who used its parroting skills to, entrap its prey. But it didn't have any understanding or any relationship between what it was saying and the person listening. It was just, it had acquired those people's, words and speech patterns and was just a parrot, basically. But on this reading, I realized there is a relationship between the people it eats and its actions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's
and
fully
it's like
aware inside of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like both of the people are in there
Yep.
communicating with each other. So they're like, we just want the rest.
Yeah.
It's not an unreasonable request, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, oh, cool, we're in here. We can get Severian, we can get
Right.
Dad.
Yeah, let's
we can
just get some more
Pastel.
people. Join us.
Yeah, they can be together forever.
They're like it's like a micro Borg mind.
How are we to say that
That's
it's
the
not
horror
enjoyable?
of zombies. The dead want us to join them.
Right.
And then this is because we're in a universe where like no consciousness is purely mechanical. You know, like Wolfe's world doesn't have like a series of synapses firing and like toxins secreted or whatever, like to create the illusion of a self. Like there is another thing unconnected to the physical body that has the I in it.
I think you could probably make an argument for a pure materialist reading of how this stuff works, but I don't know. I mean,
I'm
not saying that I'm necessarily on board with that, but I think that you probably could make that argument.
Well,
that
Wolfe
there-
always walks a tightrope. I feel like he probably has both the scientific description, but also it's like it's representative of his themes, of memory and of
I mean, I kind of feel like he would, if pushed to the wall, he would say that the things that we measure that are physical are like not the horse or the cart. That there's a thing that we can't measure, that we can only experience, that is not physical, is pulling the things that we do measure.
It seems like it's also present in the physical. Like it's embodied in a particular
that
way.
There's like that person's corpse has to be eaten for that person to go into the Alzabo, and then you have to get the juice of that Alzabo, right? To mix.
Right. Yeah, I think that maybe
Close to the wall.
I think that the boring reading of it would have something
It's
to
closer
do
to
with
the
like
middle of the
whatever like
Oh,
genetic
it's not-
memory,
it's not on one side.
it's something
Okay.
like
Yeah,
that.
it's
But
closer
I
to
think
the middle, so
that
you, like,
Wolfe
hug
as
the
a
wall, like,
Catholic
hug the
and,
bed.
and like
Is it
approaching this from a more
downstairs or
spiritual
on
standpoint,
It's on
I
the
think it really
hall
is.
going from the
It's still
stairs to the
material
back.
in some ways because it is embodied in the physical.
Also, if you pick up your feet.
I don't think that it's a strictly dualist understanding. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's dualism.
Yeah. I hear that for sure. They're attached, but it's not like they're related.
Yeah, for sure.
But but you can't account for all of it.
I think it's maybe like multiple aspects of material rather than I don't know. It's like whatever, a substance.
Be careful
It's
of
like
the
a-
nail.
She is. We had a meeting about it.
Take very careful steps.
I also think that souls don't have to necessarily be supernatural. I think that a soul can be a thing that's not supernatural or material.
Like a computer program.
Yeah, like souls are information in my paradigm.
Well, I mean, you could definitely look at it that way. I think you can also look at it from like a sort of Spinozan, like early modernist, like anomalous monism kind of thing, where like if everything is one thing,
Right.
which is God,
Right.
then you have these sort of like everything is substance, so it's not dualism because everything is a part of it.
Like the Aztecs believed that there was like a single substance that everything was made out of, and what we witness is the changes of that. Like that substance in motion is what we get to see.
Or there's some even like more recent ideas like object-oriented ontology and stuff, where it's like this everything is this like sort of anomalous monist substance, but then you have these sort of like it's like a sheet where things stick up through it, and so like the things that we experience are the like
string theory, right?
I don't understand string theory at all, so I can't speak on that. But yeah, just kind of like
vibrations of stuff happening.
yeah, just the idea that there's this sort of like either I think that you could interpret it as like whatever a god, an unmoved mover, kind of like pushing up through the fabric, and that's what we see, or you could see it as like it sort of has its peaks and valleys on its own.
Who's the person? There's somebody that thinks that there's only one particle that's moving rapidly back and forth through time, being all particles.
Ross Perot.
I don't think that's really Ross
only
Perot's kind
Bernie
of thing.
Sanders. Yeah, that's my Bernie Sanders.
That maybe Marion Williamson though. Like if Marion Williamson came out with that at a debate.
Oh wait,
just
so
like,
the particle, the single, whatever, smaller than an atom, I guess, is like playing the role of every atom.
yeah.
The thing I heard was electron, but like
Okay.
it has to change into protons and neutrons sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Very possible.
But yeah, that there's one of it, and it's
Just like
all
a
of them.
quantum
It's all-
being. Well, I mean, I guess that would be what, like a quantum singularity then, and everything all exists. Like we experience it maybe
That's
as
a big
this rapid
freaking
movement
bang
between
is what it
time.
is.
But if it's all one thing, then even time is that one thing.
Mhm.
And so it wouldn't even be that it's necessarily rapidly moving, it's that we're only experiencing it
Right, we
as
perceive
as
it.
as yeah, like as a time.
Mhm.
That's cool.
I don't know who said it.
Stuff Wolf thinks about.
I mean, if
Yeah, I
this
mean,
wasn't
definitely.
There, we could.
I mean, it's stuff that's present in like early modern ontology and in like contemporary quantum metaphysics. I think
Mhm.
that's really cool.
Have you read The Dancing Woolly Masters?
The Dancing Woolly Masters?
Yeah,
No.
it's a book from the 80s about the trend in physics to become more like Eastern religion. And explaining physics using like Buddhism and whatnot, rather than math.
It's cool. I have a translation of the Tao Te Ching that's built on like process metaphysics. That's
Oh,
really
far
cool.
out.
Yeah.
I would like to receive that.
You can borrow it.
Cool. Yes. That is exactly what I want. I want to borrow that book. I've just read. I mean, I'd only just recently, like last year, read Ursula Le Guin's Tao Te Ching.
I still need to read that.
It's good.
so good.
I bet it's great.
It's
yeah.
really good.
It's really awesome, and you get so. I mean, it's like kind of like her
I fucking
journal
love
as
the Tao Te
she
Ching.
about
Yeah.
reading a Tao Te Ching.
It's the best.
It's the best book.
religious text.
It's the best book.
I feel very, very lucky that like.
We all agree about that?
Yeah.
That is the best book. I'm not prepared to say that unequivocally right now.
I won't say it's the
But
best book,
basically.
but it is definitely like my favorite sort of religion.
Top 5.
It's more or less the best
It's the
book.
best religious text I can.
Okay,
commit to
yeah.
that.
I feel like it's definitely the best religious text if we can also include the stories of Shuangzi.
Yeah.
Oh,
I feel like those are. I mean, I feel like
It's related.
if
It's,
you can put them together, it destroys
What?
everything.
What like Chan Buddhism?
No,
Or,
it's. I feel like it's the Taoist like second big.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So it's
okay,
the
okay,
St.
yeah.
Paul of Taoism.
Yeah,
Right.
Thomas
Except
Merton
that he-
translated it
Yeah.
originally, and it's like mostly little parables, and they're all funny.
Yeah.
There's
It's
like less
a good
cosmic.
comic book adaptation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't like the art in it, but it's awesome. That
It's sort of like like little parables demonstrating at the forces at work that are described in the Tao Te Ching. Like here's how we see them in like a butcher. Here's how
Right.
we see it with like a couple trees.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really down to earth, but the same exact like system. And yeah, and fucking Ursula's version is like it's like doing this book club with her. as a
She's
Tao Te
got such a good, just her understanding of fable and like, yeah, like the parable as this like really evocative story form that you can learn something from, even if it's not a direct. I feel like her whole deal is like sort of problematizing things and not necessarily giving you a clear answer. To like, I mean, that's the ones who walk away from it medalists, like the clearest example of that, where people actually use it in ethics classes and stuff to piss off their students, where trying to wrap their head around this like idea of utility or the greater good, and then but that story doesn't end with like a clear like direction. Like just as some people find out that this is how shit works and they leave, and I don't know what happens to them.
I probably think about the Tao Te Ching like every day at some point. Yeah, in the back of my head.
It's very cool.
It's
I am very happy that we had this conversation.
Whenever,
This makes me feel real good about my friends.
when any
My
time-
ability to choose friends, I should put it that way.
Is there anything else about the El Zabo?
So
I feel like
in
we're kinda
short,
wrapped it up.
the El Zabo definitely has people alive inside of it because that's why the drug works.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's why Severian is something.
And
So
not
it's
only are
not
the people
the fact
inside
that
of
he's
it,
the
but
claw,
the
he's
people
the conciliator.
like
The
it like
yeah.
They're in dialogue with each other
and
in
with the
some
beast.
manner.
Some
Yeah.
superficial way.
Which, yeah, I mean, seems to be the case with, you know, like how Severian experiences Thekla
Yeah.
within him. Is
Yeah.
that, like, sometimes he describes it as her, like, screaming at him.
yeah.
And I think that it's a little weird, like, this giving us a greater understanding of how that even works, that, like, it seems like Severian is sort of always, like, ignoring Thekla for the most part. Like, Thekla is within him and is him,
Yeah.
and he's in constant dialogue with her, and yet we only get these little pops of like, oh yeah, and then Thekla had a feeling about that. But I think like he's
Well,
he's not giving us nearly as much
it's
as
also
Thekla.
revealed
I-
that we make out.
I don't know about that. I think that there are points in this story where you can tell that the person writing this story is no longer Severian, it's Thekla. and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just
definitely.
don't notice
Especially
because
as
they're
these
used to
two
it.
books
Definitely.
move on. I feel like when I was reading
It
it,
creeps in more and more.
yeah,
That's
like,
true.
I think it is changing him,
And the more
and
you look
like
for it,
he starts
It's all
becoming like
in the
more
first chapter.
insightful and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
That's probably not Severian.
that's Thekla, but then also like weirder shit just starts happening where
Yeah.
she, where, with like
Yeah.
and stuff. It's cool.
Well, do we want to talk about the actual scene or just anything that
I mean, it's a cool scene. It's
How big is
Not a
it?
lot to unpack.
It's
I don't
suspenseful.
think.
I mean, he describes his head as being able to bite the head of a man. It's his jaws as being able to bite the head of a man like a man bites an apple.
like bear-like or like I don't know.
Although when he describes it
Dire
the door,
wolf
it
or
sounds
something.
like a dog-sized.
Like his
wolf-sized
back
thing.
is higher
So-
than his
No, he
head.
said it was the shit. Like on all fours, it was as tall as him. I think is what he said.
Its shoulders are as tall as him.
Yeah.
So I guess that
So it's
implies-
6'7"
Yeah,
in
it
shoulder,
waited,
that's
it
pretty
waited
big.
there upon 4 legs, even so its hulking shoulders were as high as my head. Its own head was
Its
carried
head,
low.
like a hyena.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Or
but
like a
giant
bear.
hyena thing. I imagine as being able to stand up on its
And it
hind
only
legs,
really
too.
describes like its fur and its teeth and its eyes.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
He said something about its
get about it.
its claws at later on, right? Isn't there a reference? I don't think it's like very illuminating.
Do they conciliate?
No. They sound nasty.
No conciliation. It's cool that he describes it kind of like a demon, and also describes demons as being coming out of like black holes or whatever.
It's kind of the most important animal on the planet.
Yeah,
and
I
the
mean, yeah,
basis
none
of
of,
the
none of
planet's
this would be,
government.
yeah, none of this would be happening if it didn't exist.
Oh, shit.
It's kind of wild that they're just like around. You know, if they're so important that that their population is not like really tightly managed or something.
Maybe some of them.
Well, they
escaped.
might be.
It
There's
is
one
wild.
domestic one sometimes that they milk
Ugh,
for El Zabo.
gross.
Cool.
You just don't like the word milk.
Not really. Yeah,
There's a bunch of it right there. I sniff it.
I actually put some in my coffee. I don't
Oh.
usually do
I just smell
With
it.
that
Thrill.
is
Sorry, I
hypocritical.
should have gotten non-dairy, but I just don't. I only drink black coffee, so I just.
Yeah.
I don't think about it, and they just were like, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Fine."
I'm good with black
I
I
think we
usually
should-
do drink black coffee, but it was very hot.
I've
Yeah,
enjoyed
they
drinking
make
black
it
coffee.
How
as
the
well.
Bedouins say.
Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
a good flavor coffee. If it was Dunkin', it would be on.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
decent.
Some like it hot.
They would be smart about
Like
it.
it young.
I gotta say, if
Those
anyone would
desert
know.
dwellers.
Yeah, if anyone would know.
Desert planet.
Oh, I saw Fremen yesterday.
Cool.
Where?
Did we shut this down? Did you shut this down?
No, I was just reading.
We probably should, is all I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
We're wrapping.
I
up
think we're,
here.
Yeah.
unless anyone has anything else to say, I
do we,
feel like.
Do we want to decide the next time on
Oh yeah,
camera?
let's do that.
So that our
Oh wait, this is cool.
faithful viewing audience can follow
It
along.
says like,
Did you say faithful or faithful?
since you can't write your sword of the sun,
Faith-
he
why not
shoved
both?
it towards his own party.
All right. So we've got I don't know, maybe the 28th. I don't know if I can do that.
What about the 21st?
That's during Artscape. I don't know if anybody's got any like commitments for that.
I'm
Oh, it
probably
means
gonna have
it
to
does
do a
mean
bunch
we
of
should.
shit.
You probably will.
I imagine. I don't know. The play that's in there right now has been intense, but I mean that's the middle of its.
I
I
was
don't know.
just
I
gonna
just feel
say-
like when plays are in there, I end up having to spend a lot of time at the theater, and they're going to be putting on a play during Artscape, so that seems like there's going to be a lot of problems I'm going to have to be around for.
In the
I
morning.
don't
in
want
the
to
morning.
book. I don't want to book things during Artscape if possible.
I think
That
There's
makes sense.
nothing else that we can
I
do.
think that
Then
makes
yeah,
sense.
sure. Let's do
The
it, but-
weekend
So you don't have to
after
read and shit.
the weekend after that,
Well, you can't do the 28th.
I might be able to. So my friends from Memphis are playing a show at the Mercury the night before that, and they're going to stay with me. So I don't really know what my Sunday morning situation is going to be.
I mean,
I can maybe do it later.
What
in
if we
the
go
day.
earlier? What about 21st?
Well, that's
That's
during
ours.
our
Oh,
summer.
okay, gotcha. What about 14th?
I'm gonna be out of town the next 2 Saturdays.
See, I'm out the first weekend of August, so
No, I'm moving.
okay, so that one's right out.
Maybe we
Can
could.
we just do the 28th?
Let's
Like,
shoot for the
just don't
28th.
get
go
it
ahead.
done.
Let's shoot for the 28th. I'm not totally sure what my schedule.
Oh,
But
is
we have to
gonna
do
be
it
like.
here again.
But you were talking about the Artscape. That's the 21st.
21st.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could probably do that.
Which I was
got it,
gonna,
Frank.
I was gonna say if we were gonna do it on Artscape, I would also be happy to have it at my house.
Oh, okay.
I think the main concern with that is just whether Connor is going to have to be.
I know.
Like, yeah, I might have to. But like, if we can get it done by 2, that'll probably be fine.
We usually
That's
do.
ideal.
Yeah. So maybe
Can
I'm
we-
being.
And
I'm
I
just being
would be
kind
fine to have it at my house.
All right, well, let's.
Because obviously we don't want to go down there.
No, good God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
I know I'm playing at Ratscape at some point that weekend, but I don't really know when that's happening. It's probably going to be at night, so it doesn't super matter.
I think like it seems like those 2 weekends, one of those 2 weekends, one of you guys has to decide whose sacrifice is bigger than the other one. Or
I'll work it out. Like, well, I would rather do it that Artscape weekend if it's not going
Let's
to
do
be.
it Artscape weekend. Let's do it Artscape.
The
It's
21st
the Sunday of Artscape.
21st at 10:30. Do you want to do it here, or do you want to do it at my house or someone else's house? I don't care. I just offer.
As long as there's internet.
There's internet.
Let's do your house.
Yeah, why not?
The 21st?
If your house is down.
What's wrong with my house?
Eh.
It's
We
empty.
can do it here too.
I
don't
mean, there
care.
has been injuries at this.
That's
Right.
true. Bad blood. Literally.
That is true. I don't have.
On the
I
episode
do
where
not
we said-
tolerate.
I'm
I
trying
do
to
not-
leave.
I do
I'm not saying it's
tolerate,
your fault. I'm just saying it's an argument in favor of going to
This
another
house
I
is
do
falling
not,
apart.
I do not tolerate errant nails.
She thinks about. I'm not saying that. But it is funny on the episode where we said that love wins that Friday had to go to the hospital.
Wasn't enough love
Oh,
to shield her
okay.
from the nails.
Okay, so Sunday
Puncture
the
through her love
21st
shield.
at 10:30
Sure.
Yeah.
Chapter 17
Okay.
through. Well, we start at 17, and we do 8
through
chapters.
24.
Yeah.
Okay, can you want to shut our stream down?
Oh yeah, I guess I could do that.
Thanks for watching.
Come
Bye.
on, tune in next time for some exciting news about a way you could pay us money.
Yes, that's
and then
the
you'll
most
maybe be able to
important
hear us
thing.
better. Maybe that's what you really want.
And
right?
we'll be reading until chapter
the
24.
complaint that I
Reading
heard.
through chapter
24.
Bingo.
24. Yes. Or is it 24? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It
Is
ends
it?
on it ends on a multiple of 8.
Yeah.
It's always multiples of 8.
All right.